Welcome to Gridiron Gamblers, week 2 of the NFL season. And this show was running hot in week 1. I'm off to the best start of my entire career, of my entire lifetime. And I am so excited to cap this card with my co-host from Bet Spurts and a Deep Dive podcast, freshly back from his Vegas weekend, Andy Molitor in the house. Andy, how are you, my man?
Good. Yeah, it was a fun weekend. Weird. It's like every year we say, oh, man, there's always going to be some goofy stuff that happens. Shit, we almost had 2 ties. Like right away week 1. And but no, good week, profitable week. It was fun. I really I don't hate a lot of teams, but I do enjoy the Cowboys failing, I guess. Like especially since I had a little bit of under action on that one. I played a little under the Cowboys team total eventually. That's it was nice to see them kind of fail. And I actually felt bad about the Dak injury. Like I was fine with the offense playing bad. I never cheer for injuries, and now they are in trouble with a capital T.
Tremendous trouble. They're well put. I've always sort of gotten off when the Cowboys don't succeed, but seeing Dak go down is not what I was hoping for. Man, what a week. What a start. 12-2 in the preseason. And then I followed up with a 12-2 week 1. Buffalo, LA Rams, first half under 25.5 cashed. San Francisco, Chicago under 41.5 cashed. Pittsburgh team total over 17.5 cashed. New England team total under 20.5 cashed. Baltimore, New York Jets under 44.5 cashed. I lost the Indy Houston first half over 23. In retrospect, part of that bet was made because I trusted the Texans to put some points on the board, so it was just a poorly bet. The Giants, Tennessee under 43.5 cashed. I mean, when you're running hot, you get fortunate, and watching that kick sail left was glorious. Yeah. Glorious. Arizona +6. It's funny. That was the only bet that I knew I was making. Everything else I wanted to work out here with the great cappers in the chat with you, Andy. The one bet I just knew I was like, that's a ridiculous 3.5 to 6. And that was by far my worst look on the board. Tampa Bay, Dallas under 51 cash. Denver, Seattle under 44.5 cash. Baltimore -7 and New York Jets team total under 17.5 cash. So the first 10 bets I went 8-2. Those were all made on the show. Baltimore and New York Jets I made the following morning once it was announced that Flacco was going to be starting. And then I took Miami -3, New York Giants +5.5 after our Sunday NFL Pub Hub. And I was telling Andy that anybody who tails me now is going to lose.
That's how you can tell you've been doing this for a long time, Jimmy. I get the same thing. Like it's almost like you can't even enjoy a hot run because in the back of your mind, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. But I mean, you gotta take some time and enjoy it when you can. And, it's also not as bad. A losing streak isn't as bad when you have a couple hot weeks ahead of it. It's always going to happen. I think you can keep it up. I think you're fine.
One thing, though, was that the plan for everyone's so afraid. Not everyone. A lot of people talk about their fear of week 1 and putting too much quantity of action in week 1. I feel differently because we have months to study it. Yeah. I don't expect my quantity of action to be nearly as large in week 2 as it is in week 1. What do you think of that, Andy?
Yeah, I didn't realize you made so many damn bets, honestly. Like I'm usually kind of around the 4 to 6, maybe a little more than that. If I throw in some team totals, more than that. But yeah, that's a lot of volume, and you still did really well. So I think I'm on the same boat. I'm probably going to dial it in a little, and waiting for some injury stuff. Like we said last week, this is Tuesday. We don't have some of the injury news yet. So, but yeah, let's just let's positive vibes, keep it going.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to cap the card with you and all these great cappers in the chat. Now, our producer for this show is in Boston right now for Yankees at Red Sox. They'll be in Boston all week. So I'm going to be producing this show, which does add some difficulty to all of this working out the way I hope it would here. But he did set me up with a couple things here that I should be able to use to my advantage here. First off, Oh, maybe I shouldn't even bother. Maybe I shouldn't. He's got my records up. He's got all this set up for me, but I don't know if I can do it. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to worry about trying to get all this going. But thank you guys all so much for joining us. Let's give you guys all some love here. I'm going to try to hammer the chat and highlight the comments because it's so important to the show. But then the show will be constantly me looking over here. But that is okay. Shout out to Don Mac, Sky Dragon, Brad Oliver in the house. Brad Oliver cashed monstrous yesterday with us live in the big Seahawks Broncos game, and you were so giving and kind with the donos to the channel. We love you, Brad, and great job yesterday. Danny Lopez, saturated, ready to go. Terry Walker, Dom Play, Sky Dragon says his Dallas under 10.5 wins looking nice.
Yeah, they should just pay that out. I think one of the legal books did just pay those out early or something along those lines. Like that just. Man, they have a tough schedule coming up here. They were favored, going into this week, and now they're 7.5-point dogs. Yeah, Dak is worth a lot. Yeah, Chad is popping already.
Yeah, great group, great group. Great to see Switek, DX Filer. I mean, these guys are just such great gamblers. DX Filer, a professional poker player. Switek, I've worked with since I got started. Just a hell of a
Ega's cousin.
Hello, Capper. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. Saturated says, why isn't Jimmy G a Cowboy yet? I don't think the Niners have him for $7 million. That's a very nice price for a quarterback that you can use if necessary. And Trey did not produce any confidence for the Niners, so I don't think I would change anything. Brad Oliver says, I remember a few years ago you were up 60 units in NHL. I think this will be a monster. It was 43 units. I've never crossed the 50 unit barrier on single unit action. So I'll make that. But thank you, Brad. I remember those times very well as well. All right, let's get Eric Switek says she is my third cousin.
I don't know if he's messing with me or not, but she won me some money this weekend. It was a good weekend out in Vegas. Happy to be home, see the family, and then it's happy to get to week 2 here.
Well, let's get right to work. Again, I am producing, so things will be a little dicey. Yeah. A little dicey. And these aren't in order. How could they not be in order? But they aren't in order, which is fine. Let's get...
We'll figure it. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Let's get
rolling on the fly here.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Latsy says, man, what do you do for an encore, Jimmy? I was rolling until that Broncos debacle. 2-0 with show picks. We'll put out only 2 picks a week here. So far, Dolphins +4 down to 3.5 and Bengals -7.5. All right, let's get – the Contender Series is on right now, I believe.
Yeah, there's fighting right now.
Yeah, so we have 2 shows live right now. Apologize, MFAM, if that's what you were looking for. You can find that right now on Pub Sports Radio. All right, let's get to work. We start Thursday, September 15th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Los Angeles Chargers 1-0 at the Kansas City Chiefs, 1-0. 0-0 at home, Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri, 80 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. My dad is a season ticket holder for the LA Chargers. He cares about this team very much. And so he asked me to put $200 on the Chiefs at -3.5 and -110 so that he could handle the loss. He could take care. It wouldn't drive him into a horrible depression, he said. So this opened at 3.5. It moved to 4. It moved to 4 at Pinnacle at 4:59 p.m. From a total standpoint, this opened up at 54. It's now at 54.5. So it has climbed a half point right now. Let's move over to the cash flow here. Don Max says, I think I'll take the Bolts when they get to 5. DX Filer says, Chargers a great teaser piece, in my opinion. Kirk Gray says Kansas City is the play. We have, at this point, 23,163 tickets in. 29% of tickets, 39% of the cash on the Chargers. So there's some sharp money coming in on it, but the books are uncomfortable and have moved it to 4. We'll know if this goes back to 3.5. By the way, I didn't send in my dad's bet.
You just took it? I like that.
I just took it.
Booking the old man.
I just don't believe he's going to have a winning season. And you have to start right away, even if there's spots that you don't necessarily like. You can't just pick and choose when to not send in somebody's action. You have to just never send in their action, pretty much, if you know their history. 80% of the tickets, 73% of the cash is on the over. Chargers come off a 24-19 home win over the Raiders. They've not started 2-0 since 2012. They've lost 13 of their last 16 games to the Chiefs, but have covered 5 of their last 7. We talked about the Chiefs winning games but not covering. That certainly wasn't the case in the Chiefs' first game of the year when they destroyed the Cardinals. Justin Herbert, 26 of 34 for 279 yards, 3 touchdowns. New players have played a major role in the victory. Herbert completed passes to 9 players, 5 with 3 or more receptions. All three TD passes were caught by first-year Chargers. Wide receiver DeAndre Carter, who's going to play a much bigger role now that Keenan Allen is dealing with a hamstring injury. He said after the game that he doesn't think it's serious, but I'd be surprised to see him out there. Also, tight end Gerald Everett and fullback Xander Horvath, their 7th-round pick. At the time of Allen's exit, he had 4 catches for 66 receiving yards. If he does miss Thursday night, Mike Williams and DeAndre Carter would be the team's top 2 receivers. Mike Williams did not have a catch until the 4th quarter. Austin Eckler did not look very good. 14 carries for 36 yards. Sony Michel's first game as a Charger, he caught 7 passes for 12 yards. Ran 7 times for 12 yards. Excuse me, I didn't mean to write passes there. Khalil Mack had 3 sacks in his Chargers debut. Was Mack's second 3-sack game of his entire career. Joey Bosa had 1.5 sacks, and Bryce Callahan had the 4th quarter pick. The Chiefs looked dominant. 44-21 victory. They outgained Arizona 488-282. Mahomes was incredible, just as Topset had told us that he would be. 30 of 39 for 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. 5-0 in season openers. 18 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Completed touchdown passes on the first 3 drives of the season. Second quarterback to do that since 91. The other one was Aaron Rodgers in 2011. Kelsey, 8 catches for 121 yards, 30th game with 100+. Juju Smith-Schuster, 6 catches for 79 yards. Pacheco led the Chiefs in rushing with 12 carries for 62 yards. Allaire, 7 for 42, but caught 3 passes for 32 yards and brought 2 of them to the house. The Chiefs, 3rd with 396.8 yards per game last season, did not take a step back without Tyreek Hill. Now, there's some interesting stuff. Harrison Butker rolled his ankle on a kickoff attempt. He went to the medical tent, carted off the field. Justin Reed, their safety, came in, missed an extra point, and Butker came out, kicked a 54-yard field goal, but it's his plant foot, and they just tried out Tristan Vizcaino, so there has to be concern over Butker. Last year, Vizcaino converted 6 of 7 field goals for the Chargers in 6 games he played. Trent McDuffie, their corner, suffered a hamstring strain. Justin Watson their receiver suffered a chest injury. Guard Trey Smith hurt his ankle. And this Kansas City defense that ranked 27th in the league last year looked very good. The question I have for you, Andy, is are we getting the Chiefs at a discount? Will this discount go away after a win here? Or will they go back to winning games but not covering them? Take it away here, the Thursday nighter, Andy. Chargers.
Yeah, this was a team in the Chargers that matched up well against Kansas City last year. A couple of close games. I think both games were 6-point games, and they went 1-1. I really, really, really was hoping this would be a full strength game. It's like, it's week 2. Who can all get hurt? Man, Keenan Allen really matters. And somebody in the chat already says it. Mike Williams is not the same without Allen on the field. I don't think he plays. It matters. Maybe it mattered less against the Raiders team that was kind of janky on offense at certain points in the game. But I don't think J.C. Jackson's going to go for the Chargers. He's probably going to sit again. They were you can kind of read through some of the BS when the coach speak, like, we have a lot of questions to answer on him before we get to the game Thursday. It doesn't sound good. He was very limited in practice. So great move. I agree with the move on the total. There's some sharp books that are up to 4.5 on this now. I don't like this game. I don't want to bet this game. I'm really excited to watch this. I will bet the second half. I'll be looking for some props. But I think part of the reason Kansas City had trouble with the Chargers last year was how they set up the defense to defend things like Tyreek Hill. And the offense was different. It was great. Mahomes did what he did, but it was different with the cavalcade of receivers that they're rolling out there, trying to replace Hill, and maybe a little bit overpriced because of just Arizona was in a really bad spot with just the injury news kept getting worse for those guys. Like just nothing shook out right for them. And then, just Mahomes went out and did what he did, 5 touchdowns. He looked great. And I mean, what they did to replace Tyreek Hill seems to have worked so far. Granted, it was a rough secondary. I wasn't high on the Cardinals defense for this year, but without J.C. Jackson out there, it's still maybe another bad matchup against a really good offense. They even got, people had given up on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they got him in the act. Kelsey is just always going to produce. Like he's gotten to that point where it's like Gronk going up the seam, and it doesn't matter who's defending him. It's just undefendable at points for how they use him. So I agree with the move. I like the over a little, but I'm a little tentative with the Chargers offense maybe having some problems with Allen out. So staying away from this one for the most part. This will be a live betting. And honest to God, like this is just a great game to watch. So I'm pumped that it's a standalone game on a Thursday.
It is a nice one. I do not, if I wanted the Chiefs, I would have got in at 3.5. I know that Dutch Boy Fresh talked about it on our show yesterday. He got in at 3 at -120, and Viper on the Chiefs at -3.5. Eric Swiatek has his model has it Chiefs -6. Brady says it's hard to bet against Mahomes in September. It would be Chargers or nothing for me, and I can happily pass on this game. CJ Baker's offense wasn't the same without Keenan. Mike Williams not an alpha without Allen. What do you think of that? Mike Williams not.
Yeah, that was the message I was referencing earlier. Like it's not the same, and they were lucky to get out to a lead. And really, the Raiders really disappointed me. I had an over in that one. That was one of my losses for the week. The Raiders really moved the ball slowly. And I mean, I checked the pace for week 1. It's a small sample we have, but they were one of the slowest teams as far as just time between plays. I didn't like anything they were doing on offense. And then Carr had some bad decisions. This isn't Derek Carr this week. It is the probably best quarterback in the league. And they seem to have, it wasn't you say, like, are we rebuilding or reloading? Obviously, they weren't rebuilding. They still have a great team. But if you kind of micro it down to just the wide receiving core, there was a lot of question marks. And they were answered pretty quickly because it's maybe similar to what we were worried about in Baltimore with not having the receivers they needed out there. Oh, shit, you still have 8 all-world tight end. And they made things work because Andy Reid is still a very good coach, one of the best in the league. You got probably the best quarterback, a Hall of Fame coach, and they just made things work on offense. So, lean Chiefs, staying away from this one.
The Sharps dominated in week 1. And when this line first came out, I was like, well, it looks to me like the Sharps are on the Chargers. I think that's fair to say at this point. 23,201 tickets in, 29% of tickets, 39% of cash on the Chargers. But why I kind of pause on that is if there were, if the Sharps were on the Chargers, you'd think that they would wait. They would know that the public was going to destroy, hammer the Chiefs. And so I guess if unfortunately I sort of have a bet on the Chargers not sending in my dad's bet.
Yeah, I was going to say you've bet it essentially.
Yeah.
But, and that's too, maybe not a ton of value in, once it's gotten out to 4, not a ton of value if it keeps going, or a 5 isn't a terribly key number, a little more key than it used to be. But I don't know. I'm interested to see where this market heads over the next couple of days as well, because middle of the week, and granted they had a lot more time because it was a Sunday game, but middle of the week, this thing just got beat up like Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday morning, last week, it just shot up. So interested to see what we get when limits go up on Wednesday.
What do you think of this total? 80% of tickets on the over, 73% of cash, and we've seen it climb a half point. It moved from 54 to 54.5 today at midnight. What do you think of this total?
So my numbers like the over, but I'm certainly not betting it with Allen out. Eckler, I don't think was looking great. Like I have some big question marks like that. There's a bunch of scenarios where the Chargers just don't score much here. I don't think the Chiefs defense is all that good, but they did have some nice play from the same. Carl Loftus too. They have a nice young pass rusher they got. They did well in the draft this year, and Casey can play a little defense here. I do worry about that kicker thing. I brought that up earlier to someone. I said, God, are they more likely to go for it if it's like, we might kick this, or shoot, our kicker, we're using a backup kicker. I know they've got Amendola on the practice squad, so I'm worried that I'm worried that Kansas City would be more likely to go in go situations. It's already an aggressive team It usually leads to more points when teams make the right decision. So staying away from this. Numbers say over. My head says under, and I'm just going to watch this one and enjoy it. Somebody said that too, like maybe just Kelsey over. Just take some Kelsey over lines, have some fun.
Harold Williams is under, just like the Raiders and Chargers game. Ray Charles says Kelsey plus 90 yards is at plus 130. Big shout out to Twate Latte. Thank you for the $5 dono. My guy, it means a ton to us. Thank you for your support. CT Base says Eckler likely not 100%, as you alluded to. His usage was curious. He says so was the signing of Sony Michel. All right. For me at this point, I have interest in a first half under. I will wait and see how high it goes up. I like the idea of the Chargers playing at a slow pace. And if you want to beat the Chiefs, you have to keep Mahomes off the field. In saying that, I don't know at this point if I'll get to the window, but I'm certainly interested in it. And I will keep an eye on the market. And if I move on it, I will tweet it out. There is your Thursday nighter, Chargers, Chiefs. We head to Sunday, and we head to Jets, Browns, FirstEnergy Stadium, Cleveland, Ohio, 80 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 11 miles per hour. By the way, I don't think I mentioned the weather at Arrowhead. It's actually beautiful everywhere. And speaking of how beautiful it is, I said on my show, on our live show on Sunday night, that this Jets Browns, which was at 42 at the time, I was like, there's just no way it stays there. In saying that, I didn't plan on moving on it, and I didn't really want to move on anything until we talked it out here on the show. But this total is down to 40.5, and that 40.5 is juiced to the minus 113. From a point spread perspective, it opened up at 6.5, and it moved to 6 at 3:15 yesterday. So we're sitting at 6. When we go over to the cash flow in this one, Jets, Browns, we have 6,266 tickets in at this point. 46% of the tickets and 82% of the cash is on Flacco and the Jets. Then you have 65% of tickets and 98% of cash on the under. So maybe I should have moved on it at 42, but it's gorgeous in Cleveland on Sunday. The Jets have lost 13 straight games in September, dating back to 2018. They're coming off the 24-9 loss at home to the Ravens, which quite simply was just the most simple spot on the board. I tripled up on it and used it for my survivor as well. And the survivor pools got decimated, except for Pub Sports Radios. Every other survivor got just destroyed, and our group stayed off those questionable spots with the
landmines everywhere week one.
Yeah,
including a tie where anyone who took Indy, most survivor suicide pools, whatever, they give you the loss for the tie. So
they do.
A lot of people out, and yeah, the Jets. I mean, everything sounds like it's Flacco again, and I agree with you. I kind of regret not taking this under 42, and so I think Sky Dragon says, "Do I want to lay 6 with Brissett? No. Do I want to back the Jets? No." It's kind of where I'm at too. I don't know how much you watched that Cleveland Carolina game, but Brissett wasn't good. Like, he was fine. He just didn't give the game away. I think it's just, people throw that term game manager around a lot, but like, that's kind of what we saw. It was just enough. He didn't make any, huge gaffes, big mistakes. They got that done, and the Jets looked pretty bad. And they were really, really bad. And their O-line gave up 20 pressures, which is pretty bad. And it's not going to get easier. You got Myles Garrett coming. It could be another long day for Flacco. Flacco threw the ball 59 times. They didn't get to 10 points. Like, the offense is in a rough spot right now. Not going to get easier. It could be just another. The Jets team total is going to keep getting lower. Eventually, we're going to be betting like 14.5s, but I don't think that's a bad look to take a look at. Maybe even Jets team total first half under 10.5 or something, whatever they want to set that. It might be lower. I'm going to have to look up, obviously it's a long way from getting first half team totals up, but I want to fade the Jets somehow here. And I just can't find a way to do it because laying that many points with a Jacoby Brissett doesn't feel great.
Oh, I agree. This is and I could have moved on the under 42. I don't know exactly what was keeping me off. I just kind of wanted to stick with what worked and what's been working, and that's just talking everything out and waiting to see the market. But Flacco was under siege all game. 307 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, but his offensive line did not look good against the Ravens pass rush. Sacked 3 times, hit 11 times. Corey Davis, 6 catches for 77 yards, looked good. Garrett Wilson caught 4 for 52. Michael Carter ran 10 times for 60 yards, caught 4 passes for 40 yards. Dropped a TD on 4th and goal with 4:17 left that he should have probably had. Breece Hall caught 6 passes for 23 yards. Ran 6 times for 23 yards and caught 6 passes for 38 yards. Did lose a fumble. But New York's defense played well, and they're talking about that in the chat. I just don't think Baltimore's offense is good.
No.
So I don't like. I love unders with the Jets and Flacco. I love them because I know that Salah can put together a good defense even if it's missing pieces. Cornerback Michael Carter left with a hip injury in the third quarter. The 26-24 win at Carolina, I beat myself up for not taking the Browns. It was their first road season opening win in 28 years. And Cade York hit that 58-yarder, got a ton of confidence. That was the Browns' longest successful kick since 1984. Brissett 18 of 34 for 147 yards, 1 touchdown. Donovan Peoples-Jones caught 6 passes for 60 yards, but it was Nick Chubb. He was just a beast. 22 carries for 141 yards. Kareem Hunt ran 11 times for 46 yards, caught 4 passes for 24 yards. Myles Garrett, as you said, 4 tackles, 2 sacks. The Browns defense sacked Mayfield 4 times, tipped 5 passes at the line of scrimmage. I probably should have moved on the under 42, but I did not. And I'm not going to chase it now. And the difference, I guess, between the Browns with Brissett and the Ravens with Lamar Jackson is I knew that the Ravens would have these really long drives. And even with Chubb running the way he is, I don't expect the Browns to have these really long drives and tire out the Jets defense. It's at this point, there's nothing for me here officially, but again, probably should have fired on Sunday night. And maybe it's crazy that I think part of the reason why I didn't was because it was the first look that I jumped out at me on the board. The only bet I made without, talking with you, Andy, and talking with the chat was the Cardinals +6. So I think that maybe caused pause. Anything you want to move on officially, or do we move on to game 2 on Sunday?
No, somebody brought up first half under. That might be a look, but yeah, it's just Jacoby Brissett doesn't inspire a ton of confidence. Although, that the Baltimore offense, it's not really, really heavy with good receivers, and they still just didn't do much against Lamar. Lamar had 3 touchdowns. He didn't even run that much. He only had 17 yards rushing. So they didn't even have to do what they normally do to get a nice, easy win. The Jets with Flacco is rough. It's not like I'm excited for Zach Wilson to get back, though. So, yeah, this is this under. I agree with the under move. Nothing official on this one for me.
Yeah, and I've just noticed that we only have 12 games set up for me to put underneath. So I'll just drop the Jets Browns, unfortunately. And next week we'll have Jose back here, but we don't have a background for this next one. Washington Commanders at Detroit Lions, Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. We will start with the line history in this one. Washington, Detroit. We have the Lions opening up at -1.5. They're now -2. We going from the Browns game. I beat myself up for not taking the Browns. I beat myself up for not taking Washington. This total opened up at 46.5 and is skyrocketed up to 49.5 after watching what the Lions offense did to the Eagles defense. Let's take a look at the cash flow and see if it correlates with those moves towards Detroit, towards the over. 8,914 tickets in, 59% of tickets, 89% of the cash on the Lions. Then 91% of the tickets, 98% of the cash on the over. Wow. Sanka, great to see you. Bernie says unders were 11-5 last week. That helped me very, very much. This is a rematch against the former number 1 and number 2 overall picks in the 2016 draft. Carson Wentz era opened in Washington with a 28-22 victory at home over Jacksonville. And, he showed a lot of heart. 27-41, 313 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, threw interceptions on consecutive plays, and followed that up with his 3rd and 4th TD passes of the game for the comeback victory. First 4 TD game since he tore his ACL in Philly in 2017. McLaurin caught 2 passes for 58 yards and a touchdown. Curtis Samuel caught 8 passes for 55 yards and a touchdown. He ran 4 times for 17 yards, did lose a fumble. And Samuel, it was nice to see him out there. Curtis, hamstring issues all last year. And he signed that $34.5 million 3-year contract. That he looked good. And Logan Thomas returned early from knee and hamstring injuries, 3 catches for 45 yards. Antonio Gibson looked great, 14 carries for 58 yards, led the team in receiving, 7 catches for 72 yards. This Commanders defense gave up 383 yards of offense to Jacksonville. Did have 2 sacks and 10 quarterback hits. Both Montez Sweat and Deron Payne had 3 hits each on Trevor Lawrence. Their rookie defensive tackle, Fedarian Mathis, injured his left knee, carted off, and right guard Wes Schweitzer left in the second quarter with a hamstring injury. And the Washington guards were rotating throughout the entire game. For the first time, this is the first time since 2020, the Lions are favored to win a regular season football game. They opened up their season with that wild 38-35 home loss to the Eagles. Goff, 21-37, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And the interception was returned for a score by Bradbury. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 catches for 64 yards. Shark, 4 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown. But it was DeAndre Swift. Man, he was monstrous. 15 carries for a career-high 144 yards and a touchdown. Caught 3 passes for 31 yards. The defense was unable to get a strong pass rush on Hurts. 1 sack, 4 quarterback hits. And Tracy Walker getting ejected hurt them badly. In the scrum, took a swipe at Goddard's helmet. He'd been very good up to that point. 13 tackles and a sack. Prince of the City says, shame you didn't take Detroit with the points. Yeah, I mean, it looked like the Eagles were going to take care of business. And they did not. By the way, our Circa Millions Pub Sports Radio ticket went 3-2. And I need Jose producing it. So we're moving that show to tomorrow. It's Wednesday at 2 p.m. Our Circa Millions show. It's going to be on Thursday every other week, but it's going to be on Wednesday tomorrow at 2 p.m. as we set up our next ticket. Take it away here for us, Andy. Commanders, Lions.
Yeah, I'm not ready to bet the Lions as a favorite. I don't like either of these teams. This is going to happen a bunch because I bet Sundays. I bet openers on Sunday night. Limits are lower, but they're still high enough for me. And I have a over 46.5 ticket in my pocket because I thought that was a pretty dumb line. And it is always nice to be, I guess, in mid-season form at picking out dumb lines because a couple of sharp books have that up almost. I mean, bookmaker Chris has it at 50 already. So That was hopefully the correct move. Honestly, wouldn't surprise me. It's gotten far enough. We see some buyback. You've seen that in the Eagles game already today. So, yeah, maybe Washington or pass for me. The only thing I hate about Washington is the offensive line wasn't great in pass protection. Dotson, at first, it's like, oh, Dotson had a big game. Dotson only had 5 targets. Just 2 of them happened to be touchdowns. He was great because I think at least 2 of those catches were like nice contested catches that he got. Antonio Gibson lost his job in the preseason and then through some unfortunate circumstances got it back, and he was good. Like, he had a nice game. Wentz was doing the Wentz thing, but at the same time, he's playing a Detroit team that still has a bunch of pieces that needs filling, and he got it done. So, Jacksonville. Jacksonville still has, they're still in they're building that roster up process, and Wentz wasn't horrible. He made some mistakes like he's bound to do. Detroit had some struggles with offensive line injuries. They ended up having Ragnow play. I think it was the right guard Tommy Kramer had to miss, but it still wasn't horrible. Amon-Ra St. Brown was good. Swift was great. I wasn't a big Swift guy, but staying off the Lions. I can't bet the Lions as a favorite. I do have this over. I'm not sure if I can recommend it at 49.5 or 50 at this point. It depends what kind of game plan I guess we see from the Lions. If they just try to, if they try to do the same things Jacksonville does, I don't know if we'll see a ton of success. But I think they just stick with what worked. And I know a lot of what they did was during, what do you want to call it? Garbage time kind of started early. Like they were down big. Like honestly, the Eagles probably deserve that cover, if truth be told. And same as last year, we saw that right away. What was it? The 49ers. 49ers were up big on the Lions in week 1 last year, didn't end up covering. They came back and ruined everybody's teasers. So the Lions, that is another reason I like the overs in this one, or maybe just a Lions team total over. It's a team that just doesn't give up. It doesn't matter how bad the game's gotten. Like they're not going to pack it in. Dan Campbell's ready to go get all those garbage points if he wants. So I'm happy with the movement on this over, and I'm probably just gonna leave this one be. If you really want to back Detroit as a favorite, I mean, God bless and good luck. I'm just if I did have to bet a side, it would just be Commanders. Just Commanders to win this one.
I would do it too, but seeing all this cash, and I think a problem that I try not to have anymore, and I actually don't think I have. The reason why I haven't moved on Washington is because I know that I have a bias because I missed them last week. And I didn't want the Jags. I didn't understand the love for them. And now because I lost or didn't make the bet on them last week, something in my head's going to push me to make it this week. And the main thing, and we talk about it so often on Betting with the Bag, is to have some control over our subconscious and over these biases that we have. And so at this point, it's an ugly start, a couple ugly games. And
yeah, I'm hopefully this one just gets weird right away and we see some points, but the Lions offensive line is one of their strengths, and it kind of takes away a strength of Washington's in that pass rush. So if the Lions offense is clicking, maybe they get it done as a favorite. It's the same thing as like saying I can't back Brissett as that big of a favorite. It's the same thing with the Lions. I'm not going to back this squad as that big of a favorite because I really like the Eagles. Like I'm a big Eagles guy. I'm fine with that. And so I wasn't super surprised that offense clicked, but man, I thought the Detroit defense would put up a little more of a fight. So that has me a little worried. And like you said, Wentz wasn't bad. Wentz had some flashes. So this is This is a gross one, and I hope we see a lot of points.
Great job getting that 46.5. Let's move on. We move on to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 1-0 at the Saints. 1-0 Caesar Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. This one is so much fun. This rivalry since Brady moved over to Tampa has been so much fun. Saints are 4-0 in the regular season, but Brady got the important one. This opened up with the Saints +3 at -102. It must have moved to 3.5 everywhere because at 2:57 p.m. it was a 12-cent move at Pinnacle, and then at 5 another 2-cent move. So it's now +3 at -119. So I imagine 3.5s will be everywhere. This total opened up at 44.5 for the pick'em. There's been a 2-cent move to the over. A lot of money coming in on the Saints, and I want to talk a lot about this because I wonder if this will continue with Dennis Allen as the coach. Maybe this was a Sean Payton thing, stepping up against Brady here. And maybe it's a vividness bias of what people have seen the last 2 years. 6,380 tickets are in. The sharps are on the Saints, 32% of the tickets, 61% of the cash. Then you have 35% of the tickets and 89% of the cash on the under. That's interesting because Pinnacle's moved at 2 cents to the over, so they're kind of cutting the vig for anybody who wants the under. And in situations like that, I won't move on the under, even if that's where the sharp money is, because I see the books are saying, okay, we'll take as much of that cash as possible. Brady said, I love Atlanta last week because of the Saints O-line issues. Bucks have O-line issues. I'm not touching this game. Dennis Struzzi says, I'm leaning more to Brady and the Bucks. Saints didn't deserve to win last week, and people say Saints own the Bucks. I think it was just Peyton. And Don Max says, I need to know more if Kamara's going to go. Dabby Cab in the house, great to see you. So last year's performances against Tampa were very impressive. The 9-0 shutout win on Sunday Night Football, that was the first time Brady was shut out in his career. The Bucks come in off that comfortable 19-3 win at Dallas. The Todd Bowles era in Tampa begun with a comfortable win. Brady, first 45-year-old starting quarterback in NFL history, 18-27, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Mike Evans caught 5 passes for 70 yards and touchdown. Julio Jones looked good out there. He caught 3 passes for 69 yards, ran twice for 17 yards. Godwin caught 35 passes for 35 yards before leaving with a hamstring issue. He's expected to be out for multiple weeks. The hamstring injury happened after we didn't know if he was fully recovered from that torn ACL. So it's too bad. Fournette was great. 21 carries for 127 yards. The Bucs defense looked excellent. Now, that was last year's number 1 offense in the Cowboys, but they held them to 244 yards of total offense. We knew their offense was going to take a step back, but Devin White, 8 tackles, 2 sacks. As a team, they had 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Antoine Winfield had a pick for 15 yards, and Donovan Smith left in the second quarter with an elbow issue, and I haven't got the information on that. So the Dennis Allen era begins with the win. I know that there's some people who kind of respect the win because, they were down big going into the fourth quarter, down 26-10. Winston, 23 of 34 for 269 yards, 2 touchdowns. I like that he stayed poised after a 24-yard first half. Landry, 7 catches for 114 yards. Michael Thomas, 5 catches for 57 yards, 2 touchdowns. First game since 2020. Remember, in 2019, he broke the NFL record for receptions at 149. 11th overall pick, Chris Olave, 3 catches for 41 yards in his first NFL game. Taysom Hill ran 4 times for 81 yards. Kamara did not look good. And Pete Werner, 13 tackles. The Saints defense couldn't get to Mariota. They didn't sack him, only managed to hit him once all day. Is that Mariota, his veteran savvy and being mobile, or is that this Saints pass rush is not very good? Take it away here. This is fascinating, Andy. Bucs, Saints.
Yeah, I worry about that not getting pressure against what is kind of a bad line and a quarterback who you should be getting some pressure against. Yeah, Julio Jones also. That was a surprise. My God, I didn't think they were going to use him as a deep threat, and here he was, and he looked kind of good. The Godwin thing hurts. They also had your left tackle, another injury there with that. What was it, Donovan Smith? I think he's going to be fine. It's just a hyperextension. There's a way you can tape that up so it doesn't go all the way out. But yeah, Julio being kind of good was something. And somebody brought up this point here. What did they say? I think he said something. Does that Cowboy game even count as a game? The Bucs sleepwalked through it. It's a thing. They didn't have to do much. The Cowboys just couldn't get anything done. And then you had the injuries. Like it turned into a game where you got to look at that game state in the second half. The Bucs didn't have to press at all. They just kind of had to sit on that lead. The Bucs were 1 for 3 in the red zone. They kicked a ton of field goals. A few of those drives turned into touchdowns, and it's like, wow, this was a really good offense. So the perception changes. I think this is a good offense. If they're not going to get pressure on Brady, playoff Lenny and Brady, and doesn't matter if the receiving core is banged up a little. There's still plenty of people who can catch the ball. And honestly, Fournette, one of them. So I like the Bucs here. I like it down. It's one of those things where they say when the sharps are on a number, all the money's on one side. You guys say, what number was it? Like I'm fine with it. Now that if it's down at a cheap 3, like if you can get a decent price 3 here, which it looks like I can get a 3, Tampa Bay -3, -105 here. That's probably a look for me. Somebody talked me into this earlier, and I haven't pulled the trigger, but I think I'm going to go with this. I think also this total might be a little low. And like I said, the Saints have had good safety play, but if you're not getting pass rush, it doesn't matter how the secondary plays. It's like those are kind of 2 pieces of the same cog. And if the pass rush isn't working, the secondary has to cover so much longer with a smart coaching staff, obviously pretty experienced quarterback, and even without Godwin, enough receiving threats to move the ball here indoors. So yeah, I hate taking a road favorite, but I'm going to be on Tampa here. And I wasn't high on Tampa preseason with all the injuries, but it was fine. And honestly, New Orleans, I was a little disappointed. I think Atlanta was probably underrated. I think that offense is squirrelier than we thought it was going to be. But boy, man, you have to play better than that against a team that essentially has, a complete rebuild. Like they were very live for the 1 pick, and they almost won the damn game. It took a long field goal. There's a couple games that ended on long field goals. Last night almost did. But yeah, this is maybe an overlook if New Orleans gets the offense moving like it was a little in the second half. But for now, just Tom Brady -3.
You can get that at plus money now. That's a plus money in a bunch of books. Plus 106 at Pinnacle. That's what we'll lock you in for. I'm leaning towards the Bucs as well. I'm going to wait though, seeing the sharp money on New Orleans, or I should say the bigger bets on New Orleans will give me pause. But I think that I really feel like Brady, and maybe this sounds silly, but I think he's got a ton to prove this year. He wasn't going to come back, and then he decides to come back as a 45-year-old quarterback to do something that no one's ever done. I mean, I know he's won at an age where no one's ever won, but just to succeed at 45 and now to go in and beat the Saints in the regular season, I think that means something to him. I think all these games mean something to him. And then there was talk in the chat that Dennis Allen was the coach of that 9-0 win, but I think that the Bucs are the play here, but I'm not going to make that official myself. I love that Andy's on the board. Bucs -3 at +106. And
that's one.
Danny Lopez says he's willing to lose his wife for playing.
Yeah, I mean, Brady loves the game more than his family. He's a wild man.
DX says, I think he's legit falling off. Not even one of a kind designer drugs he's on can keep him the best forever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's for sure. Like, he's just, it's like how we found out Lance Armstrong cheated like 5 years later. It's the same thing with Brady. Like, he's just so far ahead of the game with cheating. Like, he is, whatever he's taking is just undetectable. Because not only that, he looks like he's like 30. Like, I don't know, maybe he's getting work done, but this is not a big conviction, but now that it's at a cheap 3, I'm going to take this.
I do think the Saints offense is legit. A lot of talk about that in the chat. I do. And I ever since Jameis Winston sat on the bench and didn't open his mouth and learned, was sat on the bench for a whole year, I started gaining respect for him. And I think he is the real deal this year. And I love that he kept his composure. Leonard Welch leaning towards the Saints. Okay, so Andy on the board, and I'm interested too. Speaking of this, Andy, can you just touch on your feelings with this total right now? It's at 44.5, juice to the over, and we see all this sharp money big bets. Let's call it big bets on the under. 35% of tickets, 89% of cash. What do you think of the total?
Yeah, it's probably right where it's fine. Like, it's a sharp number at this point. I agree with some of the movement. Both offenses were a little stuck in mud, especially once they got down to it. Tampa was only in the red zone 3 times. It felt like they're moving up and down the field. But then at the same time, Tampa, like I said, they didn't have to do much in the second half. So who knows, if they're pressed a little, what that offense will look like. It was, and having a mid-game injury to a receiver, sometimes you have to reshuffle things. So getting to game plan for I hate taking favorites in divisional games, especially a dog that's had the favorites number for a couple of years here, but it'll be the better offense for me right now.
I'm very interested in your angle. Very, very interested. I love the breakdown. All right, let's roll on. Next up for us, Panthers, New York Giants, MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. More beautiful weather this weekend, 83 Fahrenheit, sunny, 9 miles per hour. Let's start with the line history in this one. We have the Panthers opening up at +2 at -102. Sorry, +2.5 -102. They're now +2.5 at -106. So a 4-cent move towards them. From a total perspective, this opened up at 43. There's been a 6-cent move to the under. And that move confuses me. I'm interested in the over here. 6,468 tickets in. 57% of the tickets, 66% of the cash is on Carolina. It's moving 4 cents in their direction. That all makes sense. 14% of tickets are on the under and 68% of the cash. So big bets have come in on the under. And of course, that gives me pause and makes me want to talk about it with you guys. Panthers are 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 road games. I don't know why that would change because of Mayfield. Panthers opened up their season with a 26-24 home loss to the Browns. Baker goes 60-27 for 235 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He led the Panthers back from a 13-point fourth quarter deficit. But he fumbled 4 times. The Panthers recovered all of them. Robbie Anderson had a great start to the season, something he needed after a very disappointing season last year where just over 500 yards, caught 5 passes for 102 yards. DJ Moore caught 3 for 43 yards. Christian McCaffrey has played 11 of his team's last 34 NFL games, and he did not look very good, did not look like he was in midseason form. He ran 10 times for 33 yards and a touchdown. He caught 4 passes for 24 yards. The Panthers defense couldn't get pressure on Brissett. They got 1 sack, and they hit him only 4 times, and they couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the run. The Browns put up 217 yards on the ground. So we see Saquon Barkley look explosive again. Why wouldn't he be able to gash this Panthers run defense here? Giants look for their first 2-0 start since the 2016 season. The Giants outgained Tennessee 394-359. They deserved, I thought, to win that game. 6 plays longer than 15 yards. Of course, they needed the Randy Bullock missed field goal to cash it. Daniel Jones, 17-21, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Sterling Shepard, 2 catches for 71. Richie James caught 5 passes for 59. And Kadarius Toney, 0 targets in week 1, but Saquon, 18 carries, 164 yards. He caught 6 passes for 30 yards. His best game since December 22nd, 2019. He had over 100 yards rushing once in 13 games last year. He averaged 9.1 yards per play, and the pass rush had a difficult time putting pressure on Tannehill. 1 sack, 5 quarterback hits. Kayvon Thibodeau, outside linebacker, and defensive end Azeez Ojulari were both scratched before kickoff. We kind of thought they were going to get in. Giants' run defense is a highlight on defense, and I thought they were great against Derrick Henry. Now it's easier when the Titans have nobody at receiver anymore, so it's easier just to put everybody in the box, but easier. I mean, Derrick Henry's a beast. I think the Giants' run defense is real. Yeah. Take it away for us here, Andy. Panthers, Giants.
Yeah, and like you pointed out, it's a bad team. The Giants are not going to be a good team this year, and they eked one out. They needed a little luck. But Saquon looked very good. He looked back into form, like pre-injury kind of stuff. It wasn't just, bad defense. I mean, he was breaking tackles. He had a ton of those yards after contact, breaking tackles, moving the pile. Like he's legit back, and the Carolina Panthers don't have a good run defense. So as much as I would never, ever want to bet the Giants, and somebody pointed out it's overreaction week, like the Giants are favored after they got a win here, and Carolina didn't look all that good. Baker was, ho-hum. Carolina has some good receivers. If Baker can start to work into form there, I know he didn't get the whole preseason. He didn't have a ton of time with this team yet, and maybe that offense rounds into form a little, but the problem with that is like just if Saquon is good and Dable understands what he has, and I think he does. Like he's a smart enough man to know, like, hey, we're not going to be the 98 Vikings, we're not going to be the 99 Rams. Like we might just be a plodding offense with a bad quarterback and a good running back, and we might just have to make do for now. Like it's going to be a team that does have long drives, like long sustained drives, and a team that has a lead, even if it's a bad team like the Giants, that's a tough team to get in a comeback mode with. The Giants with a lead might be kind of a good spot, maybe a second half spot, because if you can run the ball and the other team can't get the ball back, and you actually have a decent run defense, good luck coming back against them. I'm not laying the points here, but I'm leaning hard towards the Giants, which feels just disgusting. I think this total's fine, but a lot of variance in this one too. If Carolina can get anything going on offense, definitely live to put up some points. Where did you say this total moved? I haven't tracked this market much in the total.
This total has moved 6 cents to the under, from minus 106 to minus 112.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think the total in this one's fine. Lean Giants, just not pulling the trigger on a Daniel Jones team right now.
Things just aren't sort of correlating the way they did for me last week, which made it easy to pull triggers. For me, though, and I'm not going clearly, I'm going to, like I've done all year, and I don't mean all football season, of course, because we're just in week 2, but all of 2022. I'm going to really respect the sharp money or the big bets, and I'm not going to sit back and say I'm smarter or I'm better or anything like that. So I need things to correlate. But I tell you, I do not trust the Panthers at all. I do not trust Matt Rule. They're losers.
He's a bad coach. He's legit not going to make it in the NFL.
But these teams.
Don Mack here in the chat, he points out too on the other side of that what I said with the run. If they're down, they're not I think they were lucky to get back into it. They had to have breaks and plays. Like, it's tough if you have a bad quarterback and you're not using your receivers right. It's a tough team. Even though they did it once, it's hard. That's hard to sustain that sort of stuff.
Birdie says Henry's last 3 games have been bad outside of one good rush versus the Bills. He says this Giants rush defense is not good. When I talk about Matt Rule, I'm also saying that the Giants, for the first time in what seems like forever, have hope. That's what Daboll has done. This team goes back to New York bouncing. They can't wait to get into the stadium. They can't wait to get to practice. But by sitting here on Tuesday night with 57% of tickets, 66% of cash on the Panthers. And we talked about wanting, that Danny Dimes and the Giants were a good, dog, but are they a good favorite? I just think this is a totally different football team with Daboll and Kafka running things. My interest in the over in the Giants, I'm certainly not going to head to the window tonight because I see the sharp action on the other side of both of these, and I'll see by the end of this show if I'm sitting here with 1 or 2 bets, and I'll be like, okay, well, I'd like to pull the trigger on a couple of these. So we will see. All right, let's keep rolling here. Next up for us is Patriots Steelers. This one's going to be fun to talk about. We're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I don't even want to say the name of the stadium. It sucks. 78 Fahrenheit.
I can't. I can never remember. I'm just going to call it Heinz. That's fine.
Yeah, man. I don't even want to. Yeah, 78 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny. It's just gorgeous all across the Eastern Seaboard. It's gorgeous all over. It's gorgeous all over America this weekend. Let's go to the line history of this one, and so many moving parts. And I was so excited. I enjoyed capping this game and sitting there staring at it. I am looking forward to when we have some buys and we can really kind of deep dive in some of these games, take a little more time because we got to move quickly here. It opened up as a pick'em. Yesterday at Pinnacle, and it is now the Patriots -1 and -111. From a totals perspective, it opened heavily juiced to the over at 40, -115. It's now -110. So there's been a 5-cent move to the under. So we have a small move to a move to the under and a move to the Patriots. Let's see if the cash correlates with that. 10,819 tickets in. 33% of tickets and 56% of the cash is on the Patriots. Then you have 69% of the tickets and 94% of the cash on the under. That is an enormous amount of money to have on the under with only 5% move in that direction. Patriots looked awful in week 1. I was so thankful that the move went from 3.5 to 3 on Sunday before kickoff, because that's the only reason why I moved on the Dolphins. I felt like I'd missed the line, and I took advantage of it. All week I had the Patriots team total under, and that was just me just pointing and laughing at Patricia and Joe Judge. They, obviously this offense is going to take a step backwards, regardless of Mac Jones improving. Now he's also dealing with this back injury. So it's not considered major, but his status right now is uncertain, but he's being bet as if he's going to play, obviously. Jacoby Myers led receivers with 4 catches for 55 yards. Damian Harris ran 9 times for 48 yards. The defense looked strong. 3 sacks on Tua. They hit him 7 times, held the Dolphins to just 65 yards rushing on 23 carries. Now it's been a few years of the Dolphins not being able to move the ball on the ground. Adrian Phillips left the game with a rib injury in the second quarter, and they put Ty Montgomery on IR with a knee injury today. Steelers coming off a big season opening 23-20 overtime win over the Bengals. It's just, one of the wildest games I've ever seen. It was extremely fun to watch. It was overshadowed a bit by reigning Defensive Player of the Year TJ Watt suffering the pectoral injury, tied the NFL single-season sacks record with 22.5 despite missing 2 games last year. He will supposedly, or at this point, avoid surgery, expected to miss just 6 weeks. We will see. And they're really thin at outside linebacker. So Alex Highsmith also left the game with an injury. I mean, he's the only other outside linebacker on the roster that has spent extended time in Pittsburgh. They picked up Malik Reed in a trade with Denver last month. They claimed Jameer Jones off waivers on September 1st after he was released by Jacksonville. Trubisky was 21-38 for 194 yards and a touchdown, no picks. Freiermuth caught 5 passes for 55 yards. Deontay Johnson caught 7 passes for 55 yards, some just spectacular. And then Najee Harris hurt his foot and will miss time. He had an off game too, 10 carries, 23 yards, 2 catches, 3 yards, got the TD. Jaylen Warren had a great training camp. So we'll see. We'll see what he does. But Chase Claypool led the rushing attack. Minka Fitzpatrick was all over the field. What a beast. 14 tackles, a pick, returned at 31 yards for a touchdown, 4 interceptions. Cam Sutton, TJ Watt, Ahkello Witherspoon. They sacked Burrow 7 times, hit him 11 times, 5 turnovers and 4 picks, but they were out-yarded 432, 267. God, I can't wait to hear your breakdown, and I can't wait to hear what the chat's doing, and I'll try to get as much as I can highlighted in our chat as we do it. Take it away here, Andy. I love this game.
Yeah, this could be a fun, ugly game, I guess. Both of the teams surprised me in different ways last week. Really, the Steelers had to have a game where it was probably Joe Burrow's worst game. Tons of turnovers. You needed a defensive touchdown. You needed overtime. You needed missed field goals. It feels like they stole one. They stole one against a very good team. They ended up in a tough divisional game, and they got it done in weird ways because Trubisky wasn't great. There was a lot of Deontay Johnson. So now you have your defensive player of the year is out. I know it's great that he didn't tear the tendon. He's not going to miss extended time, but he's gone. Najee Harris says he's going to play, but so did J.K. Dobbins. What they say doesn't matter. That's a coach's and the team doctor's decision. If he does play, it's a banged up starting running back here. And the New England Patriots, I kind of shat on Baltimore quite a bit for having a really, really bad receiver room. This might be truly the worst receiver room in the league. They have a lot of just that guys. And Jacoby Myers had a couple of nice catches, who had the touchdown. Ty Montgomery. This offense really stuck in mud. The experiment of who's calling plays out there is not working. They're going up against maybe a better defense, even without TJ Watt. There's flash pieces out. Minka Fitzpatrick's amazing. So this is ugly. And I hate doing this when they're so low, but man, I'm gonna take it under. I like both defenses. I hate both offenses. Pittsburgh, not all that likely to score a defensive touchdown and get into overtime last week, or get into overtime every week. And the Patriots offense, I didn't see any hope for that. If he's Mac Jones is banged up, that's not good. Brian Hoyer, that's even worse. I doubt they start Zappe. It would be Hoyer if Mac Jones can't go. Sounds like he's going, but yeah, this is under 40. We're gonna need every touchdown's gonna sting extra hard because you don't need that many to get to 40. But I will be playing under 40 here.
Yeah, I want to move on the Patriots here. I want to, but Mac Jones's back injury is enough at this point to keep me off. The under 40 at -104. I understand this look as well. Andy moving on the under 40 at -1.
I wanted to fade both teams, and sometimes it's like, oh shit, they're playing each other. So yeah, Pittsburgh, I believe, very fortunate kind of game as it turned out. TJ Watt was a big part of that game too. Some of the freak things he did before he was out. I think it's going to be tough to repeat that kind of performance week in, week out. I think this could be a real ugly one. Hopefully we get some weather. Let's put some weather on top of this one too.
It looks like it's going to be gorgeous though. Arthur looking at Pittsburgh team total under. I find the problem with picking one of these teams to go under is that there's really no favorite. There's such a lukewarm favorite that I think it's best to use both. If I forced you to bet a side right now, I gave you a $500 free bet on a side at the, let's see, what is the money line here? It's, with the Patriots at -116 and the Steelers at +102, what would you bet?
I'd take Steelers straight up. And I wouldn't be excited. And I think they have God, did you see that? I mean, just nothing was working. And like somebody pointed out, they did get across the 50, but it just like the offense would just get stuck in the mud so often. They're not calling the play sequencing, the play calling. I went back and checked out part of this. It just they need an offensive coordinator because they're not devoid of talent, but they need an actual offensive coordinator. So, and yeah, maybe Pittsburgh getting the weather we're getting if it's going to be beautiful. I would love it if it rained or had some wind. Actually, rain, I worry, sometimes helps an over defenders slipping and whatnot. You get some freak plays, but let's kick the wind up in the what do we call it? The Steel City.
Okay, well,
I can't take either of these teams.
God, okay. I kind of, after talking about it, I agree with Dennis's look more really than anything else. I do think that after the Steelers beat the Bengals in Cincinnati and get lucky doing it and turn the ball over all the time and then go in without TJ Watt, we know the issues they're going to have at outside linebacker. We know that Belichick should be able to exploit those, even if we don't trust Patricia or Judge. I feel like you take TJ Watt out, and I think the Patriots are possibly worth a bet here. And when I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the sharps on them, 33% of tickets, 56% of the cash. This is the first spot on the board where my feeling is correlated with where the big bets are coming, and it makes me want to move on. Trey Franklin, thank you, says, yo, Jimmy and Andy collab. This is what I need. Says, love what both of you guys do. Thank you, Trey, for the kind words. I love working with Andy, and everybody's running so nice. Just don't want it to end. Okay, I might take the question marks off of the Patriots here, and I think I may move on them, but we'll keep moving. Let's keep moving. Next up for us, Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I did that wrong. Indianapolis Colts at Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's roll. We're going to start with the line history in this Colts Jaguars spot here. There we go. Opened right where it is pretty much. There's been a 1 cent move to Jacksonville. A 1 cent move, +4, now -107, open at -106. This total opened up at 45.5, -106. I had to pick them, and now it's 46.5. So it's gone up a point, and there's been a 1 cent move to Jacksonville. Let's take a look at the cash flow here. We have 9,482 tickets in. Now, once it gets to game time and the markets move to whatever they do, the Sports Insights will say there's full line value on certain games. This is the team with the most amount of line value on the card, according to Sports Insights, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have 34% of the tickets and 84% of the cash. That's more drastic than what they had in their game last week, but the Sharps were all over them. 35% of the tickets, 42% of the cash on the under. So some bigger bets coming in on the under, but it has moved up a point. We have scattered thunderstorms, 83 Fahrenheit, 11 miles per hour. I never trust scattered thunderstorms. I don't expect them when we talk about Florida's weather. So this is the first time. God, the Colts are such a funny football team. The stats around them are so interesting. And here they get to come back to the scene of their Week 18 loss last year to the 2-14 Jags, eliminating them from the postseason. That was absolutely nuts. The Colts continued their horrific history of Week 1 failures by starting the season with a 20-20 tie at Houston. Reich is 8-12-1 straight up in weeks 1 to 5 as a head coach. The Colts did come back from a 20-3 fourth quarter deficit to force overtime. Matt Ryan playing in his first game for Indy after 14 years with Atlanta. He struggled early, lost a fumble, threw a pick. Ended up 32 for 50 for 352 yards and a touchdown with the pick. He fumbled 4 times. Fortunately, just lost 1. Pittman Jr. caught 9 passes for 121 yards and a touchdown. Naeem Hines caught 6 passes for 50 yards. Jonathan Taylor was a beast, ran 31 times for 161 yards. The Colts defense got 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Somehow, the Colts did not win this game when they out-yarded the Texans 517 to 299. They had 33 first downs, and they had the ball 39 minutes and 37 seconds of the game. That's just nuts. Jaguars coming off a 28-22 loss to the Commanders in the first game of the Doug Peterson era in Jacksonville. I'm still angry that I didn't move on the spot. Lost on the road for their 18th straight game, extended their NFL record streak of losses to NFC opponents to 17. These guys are a pack of losers. And we're supposed to sit here and say, oh, because a Super Bowl winning coach comes in, he's going to change the fact that these guys are just a pack of losers. And maybe he will. But Trevor Lawrence goes for 24-42 for 275 yards, touchdown, and pick. Christian Kirk looked great in his first game as a Jag, $72 million 4-year contract. He looked great, 6 catches for 117 yards. Zay Jones caught 6 passes for 65 yards. James Robinson ran 11 times for 66 yards and a touchdown. Etienne ran 4 times for 47 yards, caught 2 passes for 18 yards. The Jags weren't able to dial up enough pressure, finished with 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits, and Trayvon Walker looked very good, becoming the first rookie since TJ Watt in 2017 to have a pick and a sack in his NFL debut. Take it away here for us, Andy. Colts, Jags.
Yeah, not a divisional game, but is a divisional game. Another one where it's like, man, am I betting go look at last week, divisional road favorites, how that went. And I agree. It's Jacksonville doesn't have a good roster yet. There's some familiarity. Reich and Peterson coached together in Philly, so extra familiarity, and because we say new coaches or new quarterbacks, but extra familiarity between the head coaches of these squads. And I agree with the Jacksonville money. I just cannot bet on the team after the product I saw last week. The O-line really, really struggled. It took a beating. Christian Kirk, he earned that money, but I mean, it's still, he ended up in an L. It looks like Shaq Leonard's going to miss again for Indy. And then, Pittman was great, but he was mostly lined up against a rookie for a big chunk of that game. So, and they still couldn't manage a win. It's just such a weird thing. I guess we can say that Reich finally didn't lose in week 1. It was a tie, so we're moving the right direction. But this is a hard pass game for me. I don't make heads or tails of this total as well. I don't know what happened with Indianapolis. I had a lot of strong feelings about how this offense was going to look, and it's not how it looked against a team that honestly put maybe the worst roster in the NFL, and they go out and tie that team. So hopefully it just takes a little more time for Matt Ryan to acclimate himself to this offense. I'm not laying points in the road in division here.
Nut Flush looking to hammer the first half. Colts. That's an interesting angle. Unfortunately, for what I need to pull the trigger on spots, I can't not notice that 34% of the tickets and 84% of the cash is on the Jags at this number. I guess, I can't help but have to pay attention to that. But I kind of, I'll leave that note here in my notes. That Nut Flush is on the first half Colts. Dennis makes a real salient point about why they've struggled so much. A different quarterback every year, 5 straight years of a different quarterback. So it takes time for a new quarterback to get acclimated to new system. Hence all the horrid Septembers. All right. Nut Flush on the first half Colts, which interests me, but I just can't not notice the sharps here. And we've had a 5-cent move to the over, and 65% of tickets, but just 58% cash. Do you agree with that 5-cent move to the over? Do you think this becomes a 47?
I think you should see a lot more out of the Colts offense. So I guess I do agree to a certain point, but I don't know what we're going to see from Jacksonville. It was a tough watch. They were a tough hang last week for sure.
All right, that is Colts, Jags. Let's move on to a game that I can't wait to talk about. That being Dolphins, Ravens, M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland, Charm City, 84 Fahrenheit, sunny, 8 miles per hour is the wind. It's gorgeous in Baltimore. And I would like to fade Baltimore here, but I don't know if I have. Well, let's just talk it out. They open up at 3.5-point dogs at minus 103. That plus 3.5 is taking 6 cents, so it's now minus 109. The minus 3.5 was juiced before. Let's go over to the totals. Opened up at 45.5. It is moved to 45, but this is important. Opened up at 45.5. It got all the way down to 43 yesterday at 3:30 p.m. So it dropped to 43, and then it started taking money to the over. So it's come up 2 points since then. So pretty fascinating line history there, a little more than meets the eye. Let's talk about the cash flow in this one. Where the hell? Sorry, here we go. 7,401 tickets in. 43% of the tickets, 47% of the cash on the Ravens. Then 54% of tickets, 55% cash on the under. Sky Dragon says it right here, and I'd like to highlight it because it looked like, how can you not be a little concerned and choose not to leave the pocket too much or risk your body when you turn down 250 million, 133 guaranteed, if that's facts. He claims it's not, but ESPN says it was a 5-year extension, 250 with 133 million guaranteed. It certainly felt that way when he ran 6 times for 17 yards. Let's talk about
that's a really good point. I've heard that brought up. It's like if he takes a shot in the shoulder or something and he misses time, really doesn't help his negotiating position. And he has a shitty agent too, so because it's him. And this is another one where I regret not playing the 4 on Sunday. I looked at it for a long time. I'm going to play the 3.5, and I'm going to play Miami straight up.
Wow.
I liked what I saw at times from especially Tyreek. Tyreek fit right in. I think that's just going to continue. That's going to get better. That'll get better as they play more. And Kyle Hamilton isn't it. Like that was bad. And now they've lost Kyle Fuller. They were already missing a piece in that secondary. I think this Baltimore, like you said, Baltimore's secondary is ripe to get exposed. I'm surprised this total's going down. I don't know if that's the same. At the same time, there were 4.5s. Like, so Miami and the under, which is, I guess, is that a fade of Baltimore's offense where, hey, you can't play one of the worst defenses in the league every week, and Miami's defense is quite a bit better. But Miami plus 3.5, and then some, just little money line like plus 160, plus 170. I'm gonna have to hop around. Some money lines are all over the place. I get, it's very correlated to the spread, but shop around there too. Just because you found the best price on the spread doesn't mean it's the best money line. It's an independent market. I'm looking at a 165. I might even find a little bit better. So this will be interesting to see what we get from this Baltimore offense against a actual NFL team.
Do you want to make both official here for show purposes?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to line chop for you and get that for you. And I think I'm right there with you. Here. I like a lot of what Mike McDaniel was saying to his squad. Tua 23 of 33 for 270 yards and a touchdown. You talked about Tyreek looking so good, 8 catches for 94 yards. Jalen Waddle, he was hurt all preseason with the quad injury, 4 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown. Those are 2 dangerous wideouts. Now, 65 yards on the ground from 23 carries. Chase Edmonds, 12 carries for 25 yards. He did not look good, but he did catch 4 passes for 40 yards. Dolphins forced 3 turnovers. 1 was a Melvin Ingram scoop and score. The Dolphins defense was very good. And the question is, was that the strength of the Dolphins defense or the weakness of the Patriots offense? Dolphins D had a defensive touchdown interception and forced a fumble. Javon Holland expected to have a really big year. He had a pick. Brandon Jones, 11 tackles and a sack. And Melvin Ingram, as we talked about already. Brandon Jones, strip sack. It's 2 sacks and 3 quarterback hits, but they also lose right tackle Austin Jackson with an ankle injury. I'm not sure what his story is, but I agree with you, and I agree with everything that we're saying about the Ravens. Bateman and Duvernay. Mark Andrews is a nice piece, but Bateman 2 catches.
Yeah, very good tight end, but I shit on New England a little bit. This is one of the worst receiver rooms. And when you're playing a defense like this, it's going to go poorly. And I really, really want to fade this Baltimore secondary with multiple injuries and a rookie safety. It's just not going to work out against a team with, if Tyreek Hill just keeps getting better and more, gelled with this offense, it could be a big problem for teams that don't have the secondary for it.
I'm moving on this tonight. I'm going to move on this tonight. Ravens had 13 first downs. That's it. And Kenyon Drake at RB1, come on. Ran 11 times for 31 yards. That's who they have to use because of all the injuries. Then they lose left tackle Juwan James. He was starting in place of Ronnie Stanley.
If Stanley's not back, and I don't think he is, you're down to a third string left tackle. There's decent pass rush. It's a bad spot, and I fully understand the Miami money, and I'm on that train as well.
Plus 3.5 at minus 109. And I'm going to keep line shopping as we go on. The money line here, and I will look for better, is at plus 162 over at Pinnacle. And I'll see if I can find better. I like it. All right. I'm definitely on the board then. And I might be adding the Patriots to that as well. But I am on the board. Let's move on to Rams Falcons. Said it right. SoFi Stadium, Inglewood, California. Thank you. We will start with the line history. I asked, a bunch of Canadians, I was like, how do you pronounce Atlanta's NFL football team? And sadly, they all said Falcons. So it's just a pack of clowns up here.
Yeah.
Pack of fucking syrup.
You guys are goofy bastards up there.
Fucking horse riding Mounties.
I live further north than Toronto.
You do, yeah.
Where I'm at, so a little bit of a geography quiz for you guys there. But it is Falcons, and boy, they were squirrely last week. What do you think of them?
I think that we fade them. Is what I think. I think that we fade them here early and often, but I do want to talk it all out before I pull the trigger. This opened up at 11. There was offshores at 13 before the game went off. Opened up at Pinnacle at 11. It's down to 10.5. Then let's go over to the total here in this one. Opened up at 48, has dropped to 47. 48 to 47. Let's break this down. Falcons, another second half collapse, 27-26 at home to the Saints. Blew a 26-10 fourth quarter lead. Oh, I guess I didn't go into the cash, did I? Here, let's pull that out. 8,587 tickets in. 65% of the tickets, 66% of the cash on Atlanta. 51% of the tickets and 91% of cash on the under. Wow. So it's the third time over the past 3 years that they've blown a lead of 15 or more points in the fourth quarter. Rest of the NFL has lost 2 of those games combined. Todd Fuhrman tweeted it out. After yesterday's loss to the Saints, the Falcons are now 5-3 over the last 3 years in games where they led by 14 in the fourth quarter. All other teams are 244-2-1. Mariota, first start since 2019, 20 of 33 for 215 yards. Also ran 12 times for 72 yards and a touchdown. Did fumble twice, lost one of them. Drake London played, returned from injury, looked good. 5 catches, 74 yards. Olamide Zacchaeus, 4 catches for 49 yards. Kyle Pitts targeted 7 times, made just 2 catches for 19 yards. Cordell Patterson was excellent, and he had to be because Damian Williams left in the first quarter with a rib injury. So Patterson, 22 carries for a career high, 120 yards and 1 touchdown. The defense looked good. Falcons finished 20-21 with just 18 sacks. That was a league low. And they had 4 sacks in this one. They have not had 4 sacks in the game since 2020. Richie Grant, 10 tackles. Grady Jarrett, a sack and a half. Held Winston to 24 yards in the first half. They were able to get pressure, 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. But the interior of the offensive line is a real problem for the Falcons. And Aaron Donald is a tough matchup. And this is an angry Rams group. Extra rest, taking it in the media. Outscored 21-0 in the second half of that 31-10 loss. Stafford was sacked 7 times, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. The 7 sacks were the most allowed in McVay's 6-year tenure as coach. Stafford becomes the 12th quarterback in NFL history to pass for 50,000 career yards, by the way. He tied Drew Brees, fastest to do it, 183 games. Cooper Kupp, exceptional again. But where was everybody else? Cooper Kupp, 13 catches for 128 yards. The rest of the receivers, 16 catches for 112 yards. Allen Robinson, 1 catch and 2 targets. So many people were focusing on him with their player props. Darrell Henderson ran 13 times for 47 yards. Rams got shut out in the second half. That's a streak of 89 consecutive halves with a point since November 2019. They had 177 yards of offense before the final drive. They could not get pressure when it counted. 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. They could not slow down the Bills. The Bills went 9-10 on third down. 9-10, 413 yards of offense. Troy Hill, Terrell Lewis, both had interceptions. Running back Kyron Williams injured his ankle, and Van Jefferson knee surgery, didn't play. This Rams team is an angry group. So do they beat up on this Falcons squad at home? Take it away for us, Andy.
Extra rest. They played, the early game. They get extra time to prep, extra time to travel. It's just so many points for a road team. And I think if you did want to play this, you could find – I haven't checked team totals. I know the legal books have them way earlier. I just can't bet there without having someone do it for me. But probably a team total under 30 is a good look. This is a big step down in defenses compared to what they played last Thursday. And it's a very good offense. Like it's going from playing probably the best team in the league to playing one of the worst. And again, it's on the road. It's a lot of points to lay. And especially, I can't remember who said this to me, but they were talking about the run line in baseball. And he said the thing about the run line is, Andy, is they don't care. You don't get an extra point for in the standings for winning by 2. And it's the same kind of thing here too. If you're up by 14 late, that prevent defenses on these back doors and these double digits are always ugly. And really, I think the Falcons defense is going to be very susceptible to a good Rams offense. But like I said, the Atlanta offense was a little bit squirrely, and I think they're going to put some points here. What was the movement on this total again?
And the graphics are a mistake here, Andy. It should say Falcons. It should have Rams at home because this is at.
I was wondering about this.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
Okay,
with the graphic.
Good. Yeah, I hadn't dug into this game because I just passed on it right away. It's so many points. So all right, that makes a ton more sense. Good. Get that out of the way early in the week. But I'm more looking at this total. It has come down. Oh man, this was open. People had this open in June apparently, but 47.5 was the real opener here. Dropped down to 47. Yeah. Rams team total. Long break against a bad defense. Honestly, maybe the over if I can make a case for that. The Rams are they're probably going to be able to shut down whatever Atlanta wants to do passing, though. It's a pretty good secondary. Yeah, this is an ugly one that I want no part of for the most part. SoFi should be rocking again.
Yeah, I think
Rams are passing. Boy, it's a lot.
I can understand staying away from the double digits full game. I can. I do think, though, after the beatdown, especially it occurring in the second half, should keep them sharp in the second half. I think this is just a beatdown, a full
beatdown. Maybe here's a good point. If this is a close game at half, and by close I mean within a touchdown, you could probably just bet the Rams second half. The Falcons second half defense has been bad for a while now, and it just might be a game of attrition where wave after wave of getting hit by these, Cooper Kupp, and even the running backs here. Maybe it's a good case for Rams second half, depending on the situation. But yeah, 30.5 is a lot, and Stafford's elbow kind of has me nervous at times. This is a game I might not even watch this one. It's a good one not to even put on my TV.
Well, I am going to move on the Rams first half.
Sure. What do you got for a number there?
It's 6.5. There's 6.5s everywhere. Then we can, because I agree with you. I mean, the Rams can be up 17 points going into the fourth quarter. Could be up 20 points going into the fourth quarter and win by 10. So I don't need that. Nutflush looking at the team total over. It's either at 29.5 or 30.5, depending on where you shop. I don't want the 3.5 first quarter, but I'm going to move on the Rams first half. And I know there's a lot of question marks around Stafford's elbow, but I mean, are we supposed to just not believe what these guys say? Because he straight up said, "I feel better right now after surgery. I feel better week 1 than I felt week 1 last year." I mean, are we supposed to just not believe that? And just because he looked bad with 3 picks in week 1 after not playing in the preseason, I just think that's a little Nutflush. It's at Pinnacle. The 29.5 is at Pinnacle, and sorry, that's first half. The first half,
yeah, that elbow was a problem last year too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I'm not. So the team total here, 29.5 minus 108 at Pinnacle. And Brady says, go back and look at all his throws last week. He has no feel. I mean, is that because of the elbow, or is that because he didn't play in the preseason? Enough of saying that Atlanta secondary is bad. Okay, I'm going to be on the Rams first half. I think they take care of business here. I think they're an angry group. And DS5 says Rams don't look right at all. Falcons are pissed. I think it's a close game. I really do. I mean, Arthur Smith, I mean, he's pissed off. Yeah, he's angry. He's very angry. But what does it matter? What does it matter when you're coaching a pack of fucking losers? What do? They just go out and lose. The Rams are winners. They were embarrassed. Now they have this back-to-back home dates to start off the season. I'm going to take the Rams first half. I'm going to move on the Rams first half. Okay.
Yeah, it's such a difference in defenses from last week to this week. Maybe one of the biggest. So I don't hate it. Let's go. Rams just blow them out in the first half, and then maybe I shouldn't be worried about Atlanta. Backdoor. It's been a bad second half team. So let's go Rams. I'll cheer for you there.
Do you want to make that official or no? Off of it?
No, I'm passing on this. I don't want to have to watch it.
Okay, let's move on. And so that's the morning slate, or the 1 p.m. Eastern slate. Let's move on to afternoon action, and we start with the Seahawks and Giants at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. 66 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Let's go over to the line history here, and we have the the Niners opening up at -10, and that's where they are right now. But they were -7.5. There was a huge move, a huge bet on the Seahawks. They moved to 7.5. That lasted for 1 minute till it moved to 8. And it was at 8 at Pinnacle for a little over 2 hours. And now it's back at 10. This total opened up at 42 minus 106 to the over. There's been a 2-cent move to the over. But what a fascinating move that happened earlier today. Let's take a look at the cash. 6,292 tickets in. You have 29% of the tickets, 36% of cash on the Niners, 60% of the tickets, 61% of cash on the under. Seattle on short rest after that impressive 17-16 home victory over the Broncos on Monday night. Sure, they had a lot of things. They were very fortunate on a lot of situations, but Geno Smith, 17 of 18 for 164 yards in the first half, 23 of 28 for 195 yards, 2 touchdowns in the game. Colby Parkinson, 2 catches for 43 yards. Disley caught 3 passes for 43 yards. DK Metcalf, 7 for 36. Rashard Penny, 12 carries for 60 yards. The defense looked strong. The pass rush kept Wilson uncomfortable. 2 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Now, look, Denver ran 8 plays inside the Seattle 12 in the third quarter and came away with 0 points. 2 fumbles. 3 more plays inside the Seattle 10 midway through the fourth and get a field goal. So obviously, and Jamal Adams, gone, serious injury to his left quad tendon. 49ers started the Trey Lance era with a very disappointing 19-10 loss in Chicago. They lost despite holding the Bears to 204 yards. We cashed the under. It was just a gift.
Yeah.
The conditions didn't help, but Lance was 13 of 28 for 164 yards in the pick, ran 13 times for 54 yards. Jawan Jennings led receivers with 4 catches for 62 yards. Ayuk was next. Deebo Samuel ran 8 times for 52, caught 2 passes for 14 yards. The issue here is Elijah Mitchell left the game in the first half with a knee injury. It's an MCL sprain. It's worse than they thought, not better. He's going to be out for 2 months, and that's going to require Deebo Samuel to run the ball a lot more. They were just 1 for 3 in the red zone. Don't forget, Mitchell set the franchise record with 963 yards last year. It's a big loss. George Kittle missed the game. That was clear that he wasn't there, and they're looking to go to avoid 0-2 start. It would be their first 0-2 start since 2017. Take it away for us here, Andy. Seahawks, Niners.
Yeah, Seahawks probably didn't deserve that win. You get a couple, and I mean, kudos to that defense for making it happen, but getting 2 goal line fumbles and recovering them both, that's just it's not going to happen every week. Playing a short game, Geno feels like the Mike White, where it's like, remember how good Mike White was? And then people are like, what was it the next week? It's like, oh, this is what he's doing. We're going to stop that now. So I don't think you see Geno playing that well. Even in the second half, he wasn't as good. It was a nice performance. He took what they gave him. He was throwing the ball well, but this is a whole different kind of game. And it's really hard to grade what the Niners did. That weather really skewed everything about that game. I have no idea. I really, really was excited to watch Trey Lance this year. And then we have a game that I almost have to just throw out. It's like a round of golf where the winds are 40 miles an hour. Like, you're going to use any of those stats to make any decisions? It's impossible to look at that game and glean much from it outside of how the defense is played. Maybe I saw a horse racing joke already. They are not mutters. Their mutter wasn't a mutter. And it was an ugly game, an ugly loss. They're up 10-0 at one point. That makes me nervous. And yes, I'm not, and this is the perfect Sky Dragon. I can't lay 10 with Trey Lance. That's where it's at. So yeah. I don't know what we have in him yet. I think the Niners have a chance to really put a hurting on him, but I'm uncertain on Kittle. I don't know what we have in Lance. We're missing a running back now. The only positive there is obviously Seattle is off a short week. That helps a lot, and Jamal Adams being done for the year helps the Niners. Again, it's a weird game that I'm staying away from. It's a bad week, I think, for just betting in general for me. There's a bunch of games I don't love. It's asking me to lay 10 points with a quarterback with a bad elbow and a quarterback I've barely seen play. It's really tough for me to lay double digits. I gotta like a lot of things.
I think this is
and Seattle could just be putrid. I mean, they could just come out and it could be one of those where, like, God, I think Jacksonville did this, where they come out, win the first game, and then go 1-16 or 1-15. Seattle legitimately could be a very bad team, and that was just a nice emotional win over Russ. But yeah, laying 10 with a quarterback with no experience isn't a recipe for success, I don't think.
But how could you bet Seattle? I agree.
Oh yeah, no, I was just washing my hands of this one.
Yeah, and this team total right now at Pinnacle, first half team total for the Seahawks at 7.5, minus 153 to the under. I could see Seattle really struggling to score, and San Francisco not being able to put up a ton of points. Why wouldn't the under, be in play here? 60% of tickets, 61% of the cash. Let's go back to that line history on this total. Not moving off of 42. Is it the fear that Seattle could possibly run up the score? Is that it?
No, I mean, it's a pretty good defense at times too, and we just that thing is so hard to evaluate a team playing in a game like that. An absolute monsoon at times, wet field, outdoors like that, and getting back to the Bay. I think the offense gets right, but again, with Kittle missing, and even if he's back banged up, starting a new running back, which I guess is old hat for them. They did that a lot last year, maybe the year before. I'm guessing this ends up Niners win, but the cover is in doubt for a good chunk of the game. One of those where it never feels like the Niners are going to lose the game, but the cover certainly is in doubt. So not excited about this one at all. It's a theme this week.
I like this under.
Yeah,
I like this under. I'm comfortable backing it. I'm going to add the under to my card. I think it correlates enough here with what I want to do. And I do not see the Seahawks scoring. But I also, that team total at 15.5, I mean, my biggest concern would be just garbage time. Maybe Geno gets completely shut down. They bring in Drew Lock against, backups with a big lead. I think the under is in play. I wonder if it's better to focus on the second half under, but after watching the Seahawks the first half under, but after watching the Seahawks in the second half last week, or just yesterday, I don't know how you could trust them putting up points late unless they did the quarterback switch. The under is going to be on my card, and I think I'm just going to stick with the full game under at this point. Let's roll on. Next up, we have Bengals Cowboys, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, and wow, this was going to be a very interesting, fun game, and that is gone. The Bengals opened up as Canal. Pinnacle is very cautious when they put things out. They opened this lineup yesterday at 3:08 p.m. with the Bengals at -7. The Bengals are now -7.5. That -7.5 got up to -119 today. It's back to -110. Let's take a look at the line or the total here. It opened up at 43 and it's now at 43 to pick them. It's now 43 -110 to the under. So there's been a 4-cent move to the under. Let's take a look at the cash flow here. Unfortunately, the cash will probably take into account some early tickets, but 12% of the tickets and 24% of the cash is on Dallas. So some bigger bets have come in on them. 61% of tickets, 89% of cash on the under. Dennis Garcia saying, Skydragon saying, I'm probably plugging my nose and taking Dallas here. Harold Williams says, Bengals in a blowout.
Gerald Jones nails it on the head. Dallas's offense was bad when Dak was in the game. I don't see how that just suddenly changes with Cooper. It could be a bad one, and I like the Bengals in a teaser leg here. Bengals, I think, what did I do? I did one earlier. God damn it. We talked about Pittsburgh. Somebody had Pittsburgh 1.5, and I ended up with a Bengals Pittsburgh teaser, like a cute little AFC North teaser. Just, I don't see Joe Burrow having another bad game. And the Cowboys offense was not good, even with their starting quarterback. It's not going to get better with the backup. And it's kind of a nasty stretch for them where Dak is out, and Dak is not worth 9 points to the line. That's very true. But even if Dak would have managed to stay in this game, it would have moved several points based on how bad that offense looked. So I think you're not getting a full 9 points just due to Dak. You're probably getting like 6. And a couple of those are just based on how horrid that offense looked. So it's true. It's still just not a spot where I can take Dallas.
Is the Bengals Steelers teaser an official spot here for you?
Yeah, put it up. Put it on the card. I played it.
And what is what are the numbers that you got there?
So it took it down to 1, and then it was, I think it was, Steelers 1.5. I'll go find it. So Cincy down to 1, Steelers up to 7.5.
All right, there you go.
And yeah, the Dallas team total could go under again.
Yeah, it certainly.
That wasn't sweaty.
No, it was a gift. Cooper also rush yard prop could easily go over, but we'll have to see what that comes out
Cooper
at.
Rush isn't terrible. Like, he's played some games. It certainly isn't Dak.
Yeah, Slatzy says McCarthy coaching at backup. What could go wrong? That was a very disappointing 23-20 overtime loss at home to Pittsburgh for the Bengals to start out the year. Burrow 33 of 53, 338 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon both look very good, though. Jamar Chase, 10 catches, 129 yards, and a touchdown. Mixon ran 27 times for 82 yards and caught 7 passes for 63 yards. And, Birdie talking about how weak this offensive line was for the Chargers. And, man, 7 sacks, and Burrow got hit 11 times. I thought they added to that and added to their offensive line in the offseason. That certainly didn't look like the case. And the Bengals defense couldn't get enough pressure on Trubisky. They sack him once. They hit him 5 times. Now you have T. Higgins in concussion protocol. Long snapper Clark Harris got hurt. So Mitchell Wilcox replaced him, and looked at low snap, cost them the win in regulation. And then the high snap hurt them again in the playoffs. And they somehow lost 432 total yards, 32 first downs, held Pittsburgh to 13 first downs and 4 of 15 on third down, and somehow lost. And look, Dak's hurt. And, this is going to be very, very, very ugly. Cooper Rush, 7 of 13 for 64 yards, came in, 4.9 yards per pass attempt. Noah Brown led receivers. Dalton Schultz, 7 catches for 62 yards. And all of the fears that CeeDee Lamb, might not be a number 1 receiver after the offseason trade of Amari Cooper sure came out. And CeeDee Lamb was targeted 11 times and caught 2 balls for 29 yards. Zeke, 10 carries for 52 yards. Tony Pollard got season started off poorly. Micah Parsons looked good. Those 2 sacks both forced field goals, and Suckup missed one of them. Donovan Wilson, a pick. Connor McGovern didn't return after hurting his right ankle. That could hurt them. Curse, safety, questionable with a neck issue. This is
still starting a rookie at left tackle, the kid from Tulsa.
Yeah.
Only the T. Higgins thing, we'll have to wait and find out on that. I did also just based on everything else, and especially the secondary injuries from Baltimore, I played some Cincinnati to win the division at 3-1 today. They're not going to look bad. I mean, that offense is definitely going to come around. So I have some extra Cincinnati exposure now.
That's an interesting look. I'm very interested in that. That seems like something to look into. So here you have the public heavy on the Bengals. It's moved off the 7 to 7.5. There are some bigger bets put up on the Cowboys. And at this point, just the teaser for you, Andy?
Yep, just that.
Wow. Brady says people said the exact same thing last year in the exact same spot. Primetime game, Dallas beat Minnie outright. They played D very well. The bar is not high, improving on 7 points. Ronnie and Brady says Bengals will probably smash, but I can't play it. Do you think that there's that it's just because of this recency of how bad the Bengals looked against the Steelers that this is the Bengals could easily smash? Like, would you be surprised if you see 37-7?
No, and I mean it is another one too where they can only adjust so far off the prior. Like the Dallas was a 2.5-point favorite in this. It's a big move. So it's a road. It's a road favorite of what 7.5. That's a big move. That's about as far as you can go before you're just going to take a bunch of Dallas money because it still is the home team. So that's why I did end up teasing this one down. Low total in both those games. I love that in a teaser. So hopefully we can start getting some of these Wong teasers home.
Wow. Okay. And Birdie using this in the contest as well. Don't forget our Cappers contest show is moving to Wednesday tomorrow because we need Jose to do the polls. And he's only available because he's got the Thursday night action at Yankees. They're at Fenway. He's at Fenway as we speak for Yankees. Red Sox, I feel like I still want to take the Bengals, but I'm going to certainly have to think about this longer than just make a quick react bet. Let's move on. Houston Texans at Denver Broncos is next. And this is another spot where we don't have the graphic, and I apologize. There's a few of these up here. So Houston Texans at Denver Broncos, mile high in Denver, Colorado. It's hot, 87 Fahrenheit, sunny, 7 miles per hour. Let's quickly move over to the line history in this one. We have the Broncos opening up at -10, and that's where they are right now. There's been a 9-cent move, though, to Houston. So Houston opened up at +10 at -105. They're now -114 at that +10. This total has gone up 2 points from 44 to 46. Let's take a look at the cash flow and see if it all correlates here. 5,976 tickets in. You have 77% of the tickets and 91% of the cash on the Texans. Ooh-wee. 40% of tickets, 44% of the cash on the under. Texans opened up the Lovie Smith era in Houston with a much better than expected 2020 tie at home with the Colts. First tie in Texans history. They looked really good through 3 quarters. We're up 20 to 3 heading into the fourth. Remember, the Texans were outscored 62-3 in 2 losses to the Colts last year. What a difference a year makes. Davis Mills, 23 of 37, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brandon Cook, 7 passes he caught for 82 yards. O.J. Howard was signed on September 2nd. He looked good. 2 touchdown passes, 2 touchdown catches, I should say, for 38 yards. Rex Burkhead ran 14 times for 40 yards, caught 5 passes for 30 yards. The defense bent but didn't break throughout. Jerry Hughes had a great debut with Houston, getting both Texans sacks, picked off Matt Ryan. Texans started 3 rookies and Damian Pierce, but the big ones were 3rd overall pick Derek Stingley and safety Jalen Petrie. It's the most rookies they've started since week 1 in 2006. They allowed the Colts to put up 517 yards, 33 first downs, and had the ball for 39-37. Texans were outgained 517 to 299. Broncos coming off that very disappointing loss that we all watched yesterday. Inability to score in the red zone. What a perplexing decision by Nathaniel Hackett. It's just nuts to me It's nuts to me. Here are the stats. So for those of you who weren't watching, 4th and 5, minute remaining, all their timeouts, and Hackett lets the clock run down to 20 seconds. So for Brandon McManus, 64-yard field goal. And NFL kickers are 2 for 35 on attempts of 64 yards or more since 1991. McManus's career long is 61. What could Hackett have possibly been thinking? Now, I know you could say, well, he had the leg and all this shit, but that's just, if you know those stats, what the fuck are you doing? Denver ran 8 plays inside the 12 in the third quarter. I said this earlier on the show, 0 points. 3 more plays inside the Seattle 10 in the fourth quarter. Couldn't find the end zone. Wilson, 29 to 42, 340 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 4 catches for 102 yards. Cortland Sutton, 4 for 72. Melvin Gordon ran 12 for 58. He did lose a fumble. Javonte Williams, 7 for 43, caught 11 for 65, also lost a fumble. Couldn't get enough pressure on Geno Smith. Couldn't put them in second and third and long situations enough. The run defense did look good, though, 3.1 yards per carry, except for, that one long run. If you take out that one long run Penny had. And Kwan Williams, hand injury, cornerback Kwan Williams, and they lost their right guard to a hamstring injury. Take it away here for us, Andy. We have Texans-Broncos.
Yeah, like you said, the Colts put up a lot of yardage, didn't get the points. Usually you can divide that about 15-ish, and that's kind of how many points you should put up. They really, really just kind of pissed it away on the scoreboard, not finishing drives, not getting it done. And, yeah, the Texans are not good. That was a wild, wild outcome. Really, really surprising, as well as Pittman played, as well as Jonathan Taylor played. It's just crazy to me that they couldn't eke out a win there. Broncos are in a nasty spot, though, coming out the short week, kind of a heartbreaking loss. I'm not even getting into the Hackett stuff. I guess I'm going to give him a little bit of a leash because it was his first game coaching as a head coach, and he had to make a tough decision at the end. He made the wrong one. Clearly, it was a disaster. What happened there, but I don't understand what Denver's doing because, what did everyone love about Denver coming to see all these young wide receivers? Like, they got all these receivers, and they threw the lowest ratio of balls to wide receivers of any team in the league last week. They were dead last. I think it was like 36% of their balls went to the wide receivers. They threw a ton to the running backs. I don't know if that's the play against a team you can beat in the secondary. It was a really, really odd game plan from the get-go. Other teams weren't even close. They were 36% of their targets to wide receivers. The next 3 teams are all around 45 to 48, and those are Green Bay, Baltimore, and New England, who have, one good wide receiver between the whole 3 teams. And really, Denver still should have won the game. The fumbles were hilarious. We'll give it to the other guy. He can't fumble at the one, right? It still happens. So they should have had it's a team that should have lost instead of tied, and a team that should have won instead of lost. But again, it's a lot of points here to lay. I kind of don't mind this team total over. I like some things I saw from the Denver defense as well. Randy Gregory, kind of an impact player, but just I'm not sure where the coaching staff is at with the squad right now. So I'm not sure I can put some trust in Hackett at this point to cover a game like this.
If the sharp money wasn't all over, or the big bets, I should say.
They got rewarded last week, so why not go back to the well, I guess.
77% of tickets, 91% of cash. I feel like this could be a Denver smash situation, but I won't bet it. I won't go up against that. And I'll let it go. But it just, look, Davis Mills looks like a real starting quarterback in the NFL, and that should help them a lot. And bringing in guys veterans who still want to succeed helps. And we saw that with Hughes and Brandon Cooks. But if this wasn't so ridiculous with all this, big bets and everything on Texans, I would be on the Broncos to bounce back. And I still kind of like it, but I will stay off at this point. Let's keep rolling. We're almost done this card. We're getting ready to hit the last 2 games on Sunday before we go to the Monday night doubleheader. Cardinals, Raiders, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll start with the lines here. We have Arizona opening up as 3.5-point dogs, and now they are 6-point dogs here at Pinnacle. 6-point dogs. I won't get carried away this week. This total opened up at 52. It actually got up to 52.5 Now it's at 51.5. So it has dropped. It dropped at 5 p.m. today down to 51.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this one. See if it all correlates. 6,279 tickets in. 58% of tickets, 68% of the cash is on Vegas. 74% of the tickets, 92% of the cash is on the over. So that you have to think, I don't know. It's a reverse line movement. I need to sit with that for longer. Arizona looked awful in that season opening 44-21 loss home to the Chiefs. Outgained 488-282. Mahomes scored touchdowns on his first 3 drives of the game. Cardinals were down 23-7 at the half, 37-7 in the fourth. I mean, how bad is the Cardinals defense? Because, the Chiefs offense is very good, but they allowed 7.4 yards per play versus the Chiefs. Murray's first game since a $230.5 million extension did not look good. 22-34, 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, rushed 5 times for 29 yards, and most of that production came when the game was way out of reach. Greg Dortch led receivers with 7 catches for 63 yards. Hollywood Brown's first game as a Cardinal, 4 passes he caught for 43 yards and a touchdown. James Conner did not look good, 10 carries for 26 yards, and that was just the first game of the 6-game suspension DeAndre Hopkins is dealing with for performance-enhancing drugs. J.J. Watt inactive because of the calf injury. They had other guys inactive. Rondale Moore, the wide receiver, cornerback Trayvon Mullen, offensive lineman Justin Pugh, all inactive. Cardinals have won 8 of their last 9 road games. They win on the road. They lose at home. Raiders coming off a 24-19 loss at the Chargers. McDaniels, 4th straight Raiders coach to lose his debut. Carr, 22-37, 295 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. 3rd time in his career. He's been intercepted 3 times in the game. And he said interesting stuff afterwards. He said, I came in with a very aggressive mindset with all the weapons we have and all that kind of stuff. He said, that's on me. That's decisions being way too aggressive in certain moments. Obviously, he was looking for his buddy Devontae Adams throughout. 10 catches for 141 yards and a touchdown. Waller, 4 catches for 79 yards. Remember, Waller missed almost all of camp trying to get that new contract, then got his new deal. The offensive line did not help Carr, 6 sacks. He got sacked 6 times. Jacobs has just not looked good for a while now. 10 carries for 57 yards. Andre James, their center, left in an ambulance following the game with a concussion. Anthony Everett suffered a thumb injury, cornerback, and so they're dealing with injuries. They're dealing with injuries to their secondary. Take it away here for us, Andy. Cardinals, Raiders.
Yeah, the Cardinals, like I mentioned, just terrible luck with injuries. Your best receiver suspended. Your quarterback looked bad. And, he gave up a bunch of pressures to a rookie defensive end. It was a tough spot. You're playing one of the better teams in the league with the best quarterback in the league. I want this under. The Raiders, really, like I said, the Raiders move the ball slowly, but they move the ball. It makes me a little nervous, but I am tempted by the under. I'm waiting for some injury news. I need the injury news to hash out right. So not an official play, but I hard lean to this under because the Cardinals just looked bad until garbage time. And some of those points were in a spot where, the win probability is so incredibly low. It's hard to take some of those points seriously. If this is a close game, or if that were a closer game, it'd have been a lot different defense they faced later in the game. And honestly, the Raiders defense, I thought, played pretty well. It's just a really good offense they went up against. Even with losing Keenan Allen throughout part of the game, Adams looked great. I think the Raiders are live to win. This number feels pretty close. So six feels pretty sharp, and I'm probably leaning towards the under. I think this is a game that ends up with both teams in the 20s.
Interesting look on the under.
It does feel just like a 24-21 kind of game.
And
Cardinals team total under, if that's like 23.5, I don't hate that, but I'm leaning towards the under. I'm waiting for some injury news.
At 23.5 juiced quite a bit. That's also interesting. That Cardinals team total under. I like that. You got Dortch leading your receiving core. It's just, this was not, I got my ass kicked in this game last week. Wow, I think that Cards team total under is something that I will definitely be thinking about. I like that look. Might even add. Okay, so that was not part of my plan, but after the breakdown, I find that very interesting. We'll look at it a little more before I move on it. But let's keep rolling. We hit the Sunday nighter, and I will be hosting it live And Packers fan, razor sharp picks. I got his cash hat on. He will be rolling with me for the Sunday nighter. So expect to hear somebody screaming shot time over and over again. And I will have a fresh bottle of Kraken to destroy. 73 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 10 miles per hour at Lambeau. And I can't wait to hang with you guys for the Sunday nighter. Bears, Packers. Let's take a look at the line history here. The Bears opened up as 8-point dogs. And they got to 8.5 yesterday at 2:10 p.m. And then at 3:18 p.m., it moved to 10. That is where it's. And not only that 10 was, as you know, it's come down from the Packers at -10 were plus money, and now they're even money. So just a ton of love for the Packers here. Did I look at the total? Sorry, quickly look at the total. Opened up at. Wow, did it really? I don't believe that. It says, I don't believe that. It opened up at 45, is down to 42.5. I think there's a mistake here. That's what I expect. 45 and 42.5. Take a look at the cash for the Sunday nighter. 8,524 tickets in. 37% of the tickets, 77% of the cash on the Packers. And we saw this huge 1.5 or 2 now from full, but a big move towards the Packers. Then you have 48% of tickets and 93% of cash on the under. And it's dropped down to 42.5. My goodness. Bears started the Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus era with a big 19-10 win at home over the Niners. Justin Fields, 8 of 17 for 121 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And that was ex-Niner Dante Pettis with the game-changing 51-yard TD pass, only catch of the game. Khalil Herbert carried the ball 9 times for 45 yards. Montgomery, 17 times for just 26 yards, caught 3 passes for 24 yards. Bears averaged the fewest yards per play in the opening week at 3.6, but there was weather issues. Was the defense good, or is Trey Lance bad? That's an important question to answer.
I think the defense was good, especially what we saw from up front. The rookie and then Roquan, like you saw some good pass rush. You saw some good run defense. Like the Bears are a bad team, but a lot of that's just based on they didn't put any weapons around Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and they didn't help the offensive line. Like that's going to be a struggle all year to coach around that. But the defense still has some decent pieces, and I did take the 10 points here. A divisional game, a big rivalry game with a low total, and a Green Bay offense that Minnesota's secondary is not good. Like it's not as if, Minnesota has these shutdown corners. They have a very good safety in Harrison Smith, who did pick off a kind of a 50-50 ball, for being honest. But it's not like Green Bay went and played some amazing defense and got shut down. They just don't have the receiver. The offensive line looked suspect at times, and the receivers are just not good. That Lazard's going to miss, I'm almost certain. Mm-hmm. So I took the 10 points. It's a decent enough defense where how many points did the Bears really have to score to cover the 10? We saw a team cover the 10 a couple years ago up there in Washington, didn't score at all. 9-0 Niners. Could have another hilarious game like that. What if we end up with just 8-0 Packers, a real throwback game? I don't think it gets that bad, but Bears, I don't think the Bears need to do a ton on offense to cover this big number. So I took some plus 10. I don't feel great about betting against Aaron Rodgers, but I feel great betting against that receiving core.
Andy, moving on the Bears at plus 10 at minus 108 available. Where is that available? I believe that was available at Heritage, plus 10 at minus 108 for Andy. Yeah, I mean, they held the Niners scoreless on their final 4 drives, twice stopped them on 4th down. The Packers, though, first game without Devontae Adams was ugly. Ugly. Aaron Rodgers, 22 of 34, 195 yards. Romeo Doubs caught 4 passes for 37 yards. Tonyan caught 3 passes for 36 yards. Jones and Dillon are still a really nice 1-2 punch. Jones ran 5 times for 49 yards, caught 3 passes for 27. Dillon ran 10 times for 45 and a touchdown. And the receiving core was so bad that A.J. Dillon led all receivers. I mean, that's not a good sign.
I mean, Rodgers, he's already not a guy who usually trusts young receivers, and he had a young receiver drop a touchdown right off the bat. So, yeah, it's just not an offense that should be laying this many points against a team that has a little bit of a squirrely defense. And we saw flashes of Justin Fields playing. Like he had an amazing run last year. He's good. He just needs help. So we'll see what we get from the Bears. They have decent enough running backs. Shorten the game. Try to keep it close. Yeah, I don't know. Like Chicago, Minnesota's offense clicked and it clicked fast, but it's not like they needed that many points to win that game either. The Green Bay just didn't get the offense moving, and I think we see more of that.
I'm going to need more time. It just feels like a lot of you guys have that same sort of feeling that I had with fucking Arizona last week. I was like, oh, it's too much. It's too much. And it just, it's 37-7 in the fourth quarter. I felt like such an ass. Bears plus 10. I can understand that. And maybe if this was at 10 right now, you wouldn't see 37% of the tickets, 77% of the cash on the Packers. And maybe the real sharp action came in when it was 8.5. And that's totally legitimate.
Yeah. And Birdie here asked, so many stopped trying to score. Minnesota, for as aggressive they were early, like they ran on more first downs than they passed. They did become a little more passive with the lead, which I don't love ever from a team. You should be avoiding those ugly first down runs. They have a good enough running back to do it, I suppose. But if you go look at their split on early downs, they did become a little more passive with the lead, which is fine, I guess. Extend or speed up that clock, keep it moving, just get to the end of the game, keep the ball out of Rodgers' hands, because even they've been burnt by him enough times.
Well, I have the luxury of getting to live bet this with everyone on Sunday night, so I'm not forced to put in any action, but I liked to have a plan going in to the live bet. Razor Sharp Picks will be with me this Sunday night. That is the Sunday nighter. Let's move on to the Monday double dip. And this Monday double dip, those are the last two games that we don't have graphics for.
Oh, sure. I don't know. Why are they doing this? Why is there 2 in week 2?
I don't know, but I'm very excited about it personally.
Yeah, they're on at the same time too, which is the overlap. When they first started doing this, they were just being an incredibly late game for East Coasters, but they're going to overlap. Which one are you doing first? You don't have a graphic for this one.
The 7:15 start, because it does start an hour and 15 minutes before the Vikings Eagles. We start with Tennessee at Buffalo. We're at Orchard Park, New York. There's chance of showers. So this is the first spot on the entire card where weather could play a factor. And we talked about last Tuesday how we expected weather to be a factor in the Bears-Niners game, and we lit up and smoked that and cashed with that. This is another one we should keep an eye on and see if the weather continues to look bad on Monday in Buffalo. Let's take a look at the line history here for the double dip on Monday. Line history here. We opened with Tennessee plus 9.5. Tennessee's now 10-point dogs. From a side perspective, open with the under as a pick'em. There's been an 11-cent move to 50. So it's minus 117, which means it's probably 49.5 at a bunch of books. And I think that's weather related. Or it's the weak wide receiving crew that the Titans have now. 7,792 tickets in, 68% of tickets, 73% of cash on the Bills, who are now 5-1 to win the Super Bowl. The total 72% of tickets and 73% cash on the under. Funny that it's moving a half point down to make it more appealing for people to bet the under. Did I say under? Sorry, more appealing for people to bet the over. And that makes me want to move on the under immediately. But let's talk it out. Titans opened up their season with that disappointing 21-20 loss at home to the Giants. Bullock pushed that 47-yard field goal left. Tannehill, 20 of 33 for 266 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kyle Phillips caught 6 passes for 66 yards. Dontrell Hilliard caught 3 passes for 61 yards. But where were Robert Woods and Westbrook Akine? Each caught 1 pass. Getting rid of A.J. Brown looks not paying A.J. Brown, I should say, looks extremely questionable now. There's only so much heavy lifting that Derrick Henry can do. 21 times for 82 yards. The pass rush was strong despite the loss of Landry, sacking Danny Dimes 5 times and hitting him 8 times. I expect the loss of Landry will show more and more as the season goes on. Jeffrey Simmons had a pair of sacks. Amani Hooker had an interception. But the defense was gashed for 394 yards by the Giants. And they lose A.J. Moore to an injured ankle. their safety in the first quarter. Bills on extra rest after that impressive 31-10 win at the defending Super Bowl champs, overcome 4 turnovers and win by 21. My God, 9 of 10 on third down, 417 yards of offense. Josh Allen was just in control, 26 of 31, 297 yards. Ran 10 times for 56 yards. Stephon Diggs, 8 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown. Gabe Davis, 4 for 88 and a touchdown. Singletary at 8 carries for 48 yards. The defense looked unbelievable. They sacked Stafford 7 times and hit him 15 times and picked him off 3 times. And Von Miller has brought he's really sparked that group, man. It was a great group already, but 4 tackles, 2 sacks. Rams had 177 yards of offense before that final meaningless drive. They did lose Ed Oliver to an injured ankle. He tried to play through it, which means he could be good to go here. Take it away for us. The first Monday nighter on our doubleheader, Andy, Titans-Bills.
Yeah, it's probably too many points, but man, boy howdy, it's a tough task to beat this defense with the receivers they have. I feel like I've had to say this about so many teams. Like, they don't have any receivers. And, I mean, that's what you get. Like somebody pointed out in the chat, Treylon Burks is probably their best receiver at this point. That's true, and he didn't even get a ton of usage. He wasn't on the field for chunks of the game. It's not like he got a lot of snaps, and he did get targeted when he was out there. So maybe something to look for if you're fantasy DFS or whatnot, but it's a good defense that we're worried was going to drop off. I don't think that happened. Von Miller thing is working out despite a little longer in the tooth. And Tennessee, they looked bad against a much worse quarterback with a worse receiving core, a better running back. I'll give them that, but overall, like, just a much worse team. And they let him back into it. And I really worry what's going to happen when they face a better offense, a better defense, and a team that's super rested. 6.5 in the first half. This is a team that starts out fast. Last year, this was your fourth highest scoring first half. They averaged 14 points per game in the first half, which was best for, I think, 5th in the league, if I remember right. It is a team that does like to start out fast. They understand just getting out to a lead is your best bet for winning a game. Like, it's just there's a weird stat about that. It really matters who's up at halftime. Like, it says that's very, it's a very apparent. Like, only having to play half the game with a lead is easy, but really, really, really a lot of signal to teams that even with smaller leads into the half. Like, and I think they understand that. They get out to these quick leads and they just let it coast. And the defense is good enough to do that. So it's -6.5 first half against a team that just doesn't have receivers. They really have decided to fully sabotage Tannehill, I guess.
Yeah, I like this look. It's up to you. You can get the 6 at -109. Let's give you that.
Yeah, sure. I just I haven't bet this yet. I'm waiting for some other books to open first halves.
I like this. I do have a little bit of concern with the weather. The Titans would love it if it was pouring rain. That would be the best situation for them here. So I'm going to take another look at that and look at a few different sites, but I like this look. I think they take care of business. Alex saying, remember, Bills lost to Titans 31-34 last year on a Monday night. And look, we all just watched them beat up and dominate the Super Bowl champs. But Ray Charles says they're going to smoke the Titans. All right. Saturates, how many times have there been 5, 10+ point spreads in a week?
Yeah, there's a lot of double-digit favorites.
It's not a fun week to cap, but we're running so hot. That is game 1 of the doubleheader on Monday. Let's talk about the final game on the card. The 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Minnesota Vikings 1-0 at the Eagles 1-0. Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 77 Fahrenheit clear, 7 miles per hour. We'll start with the line history here. We have these Eagles opening up as 3-point favorites. They're now 1-point favorites, but it's -125. So probably 1.5 at most books. The total here opened up at 49. It's all the way up to 50. It actually got up to 52 was at 52 for what? Almost 22 hours.
Yeah, there's some buyback today on the under.
Yeah, interesting. Ron Crawford on the Eagles money line. Christopher Comentini says wrong team favored. Let's take a look at the cash flow here. 7,477 tickets in, 29% of the tickets and 67% of the cash on the Eagles. Sharps are on these Eagles. 85% of the tickets, 88% cash on the over. Vikings started the Kevin O'Connell era with that big 23-7 win at home over their hated rival, the Packers. O'Connell was the offensive coordinator for the Super Bowl champion Rams. He led the Vikings to the largest margin of victory over the Packers with Rodgers at quarterback. Kirk Cousins, 23 of 32 for 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And Jefferson, what a beast. Justin, oh my. All-time Vikings receiving record with 158 yards in the first half. Remember, he last 2 years combined 3,016 yards, got 9.
And it's a team that's had Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Jake Reed, Percy Harvin, Stephon Diggs for a couple of years. I mean, that's something. When you can set a receiving record, Minnesota, you've done something. And yeah, he was one of my, like I said, I had an offensive player of the year ticket on him. I need him to just keep trucking. That would be lovely.
Look what O'Connell did with him too. Like, you had Jair on the other side. You got to keep him away from Jair. And God, it was very, very good. It looked so good. Delvin Cook ran 20 times for 90 yards, caught 3 passes for 18 yards. The defense looked strong. They sacked Rodgers 4 times, hit him 5 times. Harrison Smith added an interception, and Zadarius Smith had a fire lit under him. Had one of the 4 sacks. If he can stay healthy. Look, if him and Hunter can stay healthy, which I don't think they can, but if they can stay healthy, they're going to be very good. Eagles coming off that wild 38-35 win at Detroit. Jalen Hurts, 18 of 32, 243 yards, ran the ball 17 times for 90 yards and a touchdown, 1 yard short of his career high, 50 yards rushing in the first quarter. That's the highest total by a Philadelphia quarterback since Michael Vick in 2013. A.J. Brown, what a monster. 10 catches for 155 yards. The rest of the Eagles receivers caught a total of 8 passes. Goddard, 3 for 60. No one else on the team had more than 4 targets or 3 catches. The trade and the 4-year contract at $57 million looks like good money spent at this point. Miles Sanders ran 13 times for 96 yards. Bradbury returned an interception, 27 yards. The defense did not get much of a pass rush on Goff. 1 sack, did hit him 6 times. And they lose Derek Barnett to a torn ACL. First-round pick in 2017, signed a 2-year deal in the offseason. They still have Hassan Reddick, Sweat, Graham, Teron Jackson. Jackson was inactive on Sunday, but how big of a loss is this going to be? They slid Fletcher down to defensive end, and they've lost 5 of their last 8 home games. And the defense didn't look good. Detroit averaged 6.5 yards per carry against them. But as our guy Sky Dragon saying, aside from my fandom, this has moved too much. Philly or pass. Final game on the card. Take it away, Andy.
I think I know who wins this game, and I think it might be just the last team with the ball, because everything that made Minnesota successful on the scoreboard works on the offense and probably doesn't work on the defense. You're facing a team that has a premier wide receiver, has a mobile quarterback. I worry about the Minnesota linebackers getting after him. I think Hurts is good. Yeah, bet his rushing yards over. I think he's going to be scrambling plenty. The pass rush was great against Green Bay, but the Eagles have a stellar offensive line. I think that's going to be mitigated a bit. And yeah, the pass rush for Philly now takes a big hit with Barnett hurt. The Minnesota offensive line is a weakness, and you're taking away a weakness by, saying the pass rush isn't going to be as good. The Minnesota offense didn't really have to kick in the second half as much. It'll be interesting to see how that works with a close game. They continue to be aggressive with Jefferson, with Cook, with Thielen, Osborne, Irv, everything. I bet this over. I bet it at 49 when it opened. Drew and I talked about it at the pool at the Sahara and said, it was 47.5 before the games. Said anything under 50, if this reopens anything under 50, probably just betting this over. Took some 49s. It moved up to like 52. I was surprised. Took a swing that hard. A little bit of buyback. It's back up to 51.5 at some places. I don't know where it closes, but yes, I like this. And also I mentioned this in the Green Bay breakdown. I don't think the Minnesota defense is that good, especially in the secondary. It was just and it's odd to say this, like Jalen Hurts is going to be more successful against this defense than Hall of Famer, 2-time defending MVP Aaron Rodgers, but receivers matter. And AJ Brown is going to be a big problem to cover. I think both of these receivers they have like you remember that Michael Jordan commercial with Bird, the McDonald's commercial where they're horse and they just kept one-upping each other. I want that so bad. I don't know who wins this game. I think Philly probably has the advantage slight, but it's going to be a close game with a lot of points. And hopefully it's just a fireworks show and we get this over right away. If you can find a 50, watch this market 50.5. I'd still play this over. And yeah, I'm glad this is a standalone primetime game. A couple of fun teams for sure.
There is a 50.5, a couple of them right now available.
Yeah, it bounced down. You had a second chance of getting a decent number.
Do you want to make it official at 50.5, or do you want to just keep?
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
All right, let's lock that in for Andy. A great breakdown on that one. That's going to bring a ton of fun to our Monday night doubleheader here on Pub Sports Radio. I'm so excited that I get to host Sunday and Monday nights this year. Thank you to all who have supported us last weekend. It was extremely fun. Andy, I love capping the card with you. What a treat it's going to be all year long, and I'm off to the best start I've ever had in any sport.
Yeah, the Eagles over is just going to be icing on the cake. You're going to be up so many damn units by Monday anyway.
I don't know. See, okay. Well, I don't want to talk about it. I just don't.
Don't jinx it.
It's so fucked. It's just I mean, how do you not regress to the mean here? Yeah. But 12-2 week 1 plus 9.8 units, a 12-2 preseason plus 9.9 units. It's just crazy. Let's go over all action here. I have some interest in this first half under in Kansas City, but I'm going to study it more. That's the Thursday nighter. I need to look at it longer. Jets, Browns, we stayed off. I said that under 42 is not going to be here long on Sunday, and maybe I should start trusting myself. What kept me off was the one move I made. I told you guys was the Cardinals. That was all me, and look how bad that looked. Commanders, Lions, we have stayed off. Andy, you get your card started with the Bucs at -3 at plus 106. I'm really interested. I think I'm going to run with you on this again. So I'm going to put some asterisks here. I'm going to need a little bit more time, but I believe that I will run with you on this. I think. I'm interested.
Yeah, when you say you got to trust yourself,
yeah,
I think you should listen to the guy who's 24-4. Like, listen to that guy. He's got a feel for the market.
Yeah. I'm just not used to success like this, so it's hard, But I fucking like it.
It's like craps when the dice are high. You got to press.
Yeah, no, you have
to trust yourself when you're seeing it.
That's what Dutch was saying to me. Dutch was saying you should. Yeah, he was saying the same thing. So I've got to take it to heart. It's funny here for Carolina and New York. I have interest in the over and interest in the Giants, but market's gone the other way and the sharps are on the other way. So I'm certainly not going to move on them. Andy, you get your card started with the under 40 and Patriots, Steelers. I'm interested in the Patriots, but I don't know if I pull the trigger at this point. Nutflush is on the first half. Colts. Again, I'm going to look at that longer before I pounce. I am moving on the Dolphins. Andy moved on the Dolphins at plus 3.5. Also on the money line at plus 162. I'm moving on the Dolphins tonight. That's going to be a bet I make tonight. Rams first half. I'm going to move on tonight. Then the under in Seahawks 49ers. I'm moving on. Andy has a teaser. Bengals -1. Steelers plus 7.5. I got to sit with that a little longer. I don't want to just Texans, Broncos, we've stayed off at this point. The Cards team total under and the first half under, I find interesting in Arizona, Vegas. I'm going to study it a little more. Then Andy's on the Bears plus 10, and he's also on the Bills. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. You moved on the Bills first half -6 and -109. I think I'm going to run with you on that one. That makes sense to me. But I need to know that the weather's not going to be bad. And then Andy finishes his card with the over 50.5 in Vikings Eagles, although he did get a much better number while chilling at the pool with the whale capper in Vegas this weekend. Andy, thank you so much for rolling with us. Watch and follow Andy at Bet Spurts and the Deep Dive podcast with the whale capper. Check him out at Bet Spurts and follow him on Twitter. His Twitter handle is right there, Andy MSFW. W. I love it. Thank you, Andy, my man. Any last words for the great cappers supporting the show?
No, just awesome. You guys in the chat just flying. It's almost too much to read. It's a lot. I need to go back and see everything. There's some good insights there. So appreciate it, guys. Have a good week, and we'll catch you Monday for double headers.
Well, let's go out there and get that cash. On behalf of all of us at Pub Sports Radio, we thank you very much for watching. And let's fucking go. Let's keep this going. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning for Betting with the Bag at 11 a.m. Eastern. And then we have the Cappers Contest show will be tomorrow. And we went 3-2 with you guys making the picks. You guys make the picks. We have polls, and you guys pick our card. And let's keep it up. Thank you all. Harold Williams, DX Filer, Drinking Hand, Ron Crawford, Spreadsheet Play Today is the Saints, Don Mack, Alec Slatsy, Kevin Campbell, Lance LaRose. Kevin Campbell, best bet, ? That would take some time here to pull out a best bet. It's not something we've done thus far, but we could start doing that. We could start giving you a best bet. We need to put a bow on this show now, but we'll start doing that. We'll start next week. We'll give what we believe is the best bet. Is there anything that's really jumping out at you here, Andy, as a best bet?
Best bet is Detroit over 46.5 on Sunday. So it moved the most, but no, I mean, really that Eagles over. I love that. Some extra rest for both teams as well. Not having to play till Monday. I think these offenses are just going to explode. So that's probably my favorite look.
My favorite look, I think, here would be Rams first half. I think that's just I just think they're going to be an angry group, and they're going to take it out on the Falcons.
There's too much talent on that team not to play well against.
But it might be the Dolphins.
Yeah, I like that. Dolphins straight up is a look I like quite a bit too. Just that secondary isn't going to handle it.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you guys. Thank you for your support, and I can't wait. I can't wait to do this again next week. Every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. here with Andy from BetSperts, Andy Molitor. Much love to all of you guys. Go out there and get that cash, and we'll see you next Tuesday on Gridiron Gamblers.